Hey guys, before we get into this episode, I just want to kind of get some stuff off my chest. The more and more I dive into politics, hot issues here around the world, the more, I don't know, saddened, frustrated I get. I'm trying not to be black pilled. Me and my brother talk about this a lot, and I admire him being in his younger 20s and having hope, and I want to have that as well. But the more and more I talk with people, the more and more I see of what's going on. The older I get, the more I'm able to understand. The more just kind of hopeless I feel. I'm very appreciative of the people who come on here and talk to me. From all different sides, from left, right, centered, hearing everyday people's concerns, their worries, even some of the good things. Blake's one of the guys that comes on a lot and helps me kind of look at the positive side. A couple of other people, my brother, I've got friends out there, that are trying to help me, my buddy Post, I have these people that kind of help keep me centered, help me understand, keep me balanced. But it's hard. And so when you're watching this, please, listen, even if it's not a side that you don't like, listen, what is bringing this person to have these feelings, to have these thoughts, whether it be me or the person that's sitting in front of me. I'm tired of watching all these videos of people dunking on people. Granted, yes, they're entertaining. Granted, sometimes it's needed and warranted, but I just see us more and more pushing each other into our corners. I don't want that anymore. Okay. I'm not going to get everything right. When you watch the show, you're going to see that. You're gonna be like, what the fuck did he say? Sometimes I say the same shit when I'm editing. I'm like, what the fuck just came out of my mouth? It's hard because it's 3 hours, 4 hours of trying to articulate and explain your thoughts in your head, and also to be able to keep up with your guest and to be able to answer all their questions and also challenge them. And you're going to miss some things, but out of that, you're also going to gain some cool insights, some cool thoughts, different perspectives. We need more of this, guys. We need more of us normal, everyday folks to get together. We need to be able to have these discussions in a friendly manner, in a cordial manner, not trying to fucking hurt each other or silence one another. We can't, I'm going to read off some notes that I have. I'm not the greatest on, remembering shit. I write shit down. I'm a note taker. So I'm going to read off some stuff. Yeah. So, all right. So pretty much, in this video, these are going to be real concerns, real thoughts from everyday normal people. Like I said, it's a time we start focusing on this more. Instead of getting caught up in how divided we seem, let's look at the common issues, the shared wants and needs that we're all asking for. Deep down, most of us want the same thing: a fair shot at life, security for our families, a system that is fair for everyone. But unfortunately, we have different ways of getting there, and our parties keep letting us down. They promise solutions, but end up blaming each other, leaving us stuck in the middle. A lot of the times, guys, this is because we're wanting policies enacted, we're wanting laws enacted that are going to affect other people's lives. This comes from the right or the left. This is why it's continually not working, and it's taking so long for other things to get done that could help benefit us, or we're losing sight of the real mission, the real issues, the real things that are negatively impacting us. Okay. We need to stick to it. My biggest thing right now, and I believe this is probably the number one thing that we should be focusing on, that should be scaring the shit out of all of us, is our debt. Okay. Our debt is $38 trillion, something around there. I mean, we're just a fucking crazy person with the open line of credit that just sees no end in sight. Okay. It's devaluing our dollar. It's making everything expensive. It's making it harder for us to live. It's pushing us into our corners because these parties are promising us that they're going to fix it and they're not. It's dividing the people who need to stay united in order to be able to keep the balance check of government. And also the elites as well, the people with money, the people pulling the strings. These things are crucial, man. We have to get back to it. We throw around these extremes and generalizations way too easily. Republicans are all racist, who only care about the rich. Democrats are lazy snowflakes, who want everything handed to them. Come on, guys. These are broad strokes that don't capture the truth. I truly believe that the majority in each party are good people, just regular folks trapped in this broken two-party system with no alternatives. I mean, some of the things that were said in this episode, I want it to be said. I want people to hear these things. I want people to question and be like, well, why does Leo feel this way? Or why does Gabriel feel this way? Or whatever guest is here, whatever discussion we're having, ask why, engage, comment, send me a message, be a part of the show. Come here, sit down, talk with me. Let's be the example. Let's start what we want others to do. We don't need them. We don't need to change them. They're not going to. Everything's driven off of money, views, clicks. Fuck all that, okay? Come here, be with people that are like you, express how you feel on these things and your thoughts and your concerns and your what you're going through every day. We need to stop. We need to stop feeling this way. I don't want people like Leo to feel Republicans are all racist, because they're not. There's a lot of great Republicans out there that are great people. And on the other side, tired of people feeling like as if every Democrat is some libtard snowflakes. You got to stop, guys. There's good people on the Democratic side too. Okay. We can't keep speaking in these generalizations. We do still need to call out people who are still ignorant and will not change. I'm not saying we need to be soft on anybody. Not at all. Let's start with conversation first, always. We have to go in engaging with conversation and not just assuming a person is away and they'll never be changed. Because if we go in with that mindset, you've already predicted the outcome. You've already caused the outcome. So as you listen to this episode, really hear what Leo and I are saying. Stop looking for a fight. Stop trying to one-up each other and score points. Whether you agree or not, think about what's causing these feelings. Who's grooming us to see the other side this way? Who's pushing the narrative that Republicans are just heartless oligarch supporters, or that Democrats are deranged liberals obsessed with vaccines and free handouts? Who's making us believe that everyone on the other side is like that? I like to hope, and I think it's true, that the large majority of us aren't the extremes we accuse each other of being. We're better than that. And if we start having more conversations like the one Leo and I are about to have, open, honest, without constant bickering and finger pointing, we could build a better world. I like to hope and think it's true I already went through that. We're better than that. And if we start having more conversations like the one Leo and I are about to have, open, honest, without the constant bickering and finger pointing, we could build a better world. One where we actually listen, understand, and find common ground. All right. I've been meaning to make a video like this for a while. I'm hope to start going into streaming, just me or maybe another guest. Kind of doing reviews on content, issues. Really would like to start pushing towards local stuff, which I feel like I have been sprinkling in there. It's a lot, guys. Sometimes it could feel like you're drinking from a fire hydrant, Even me, it's hard to grasp my mind and thoughts around everything, to remember everything on top of everyday life, on top of working, like everybody else, and having a family, and dealing with my own issues, and so I feel for everybody out there. Okay, I feel for everybody who is either trying or just feeling hopeless and just saying fuck it, I'm gonna ignore it and I'm just gonna go live our lives and just let it be. But man, it's gonna catch up to us. sometimes I swear, I'll sit and kind of just reflect and think about, all of this stuff that's going on, and, kind of reminiscing throughout my years, and just, wondering, how stable is this? How long is this going to last? Is all this stuff building up right now to where it's going to pop? Am I ready? What am I going to do? I've got 3 girls to think about, and, it scares the shit out of me all the time. I've got friends I love. I got family I love. I got, people around me that I care for. And this system that we're living in, man, it's fragile. We like to think, that it's always going to be there, but we like to think the same about our lives. And, some people don't wake up. Some people, have to go through horrible, diagnosis, and nothing is guaranteed. It's not, guys. And I hope after you watch this episode, I hope you go back and watch other ones. I hope there's more to come. I will be on a little bit of a break with starting a new position at a new company until I get acclimated. But I will still continue the show. I still will have episodes. Please, people, reach out. And let's start something here. Let's start, I know that everyone thinks podcasting, everyone's got a podcast now, blah, blah, blah. But, maybe look at it differently, instead of hating right off the bat, maybe see what we're doing, maybe see an opportunity for your area, that we could have discussions and bring people together. I just don't want people to come on here just for content. If I cared about that, I'd be doing dumb shit to sell this podcast. I'd be paying people. I'd be fucking doing whatever trend that's going on right now to get more views and clicks. I wouldn't be talking about a lot of the stuff I'm talking about on here to get ahead. Okay. What this is, it's supposed to be a time capsule of conversations. It's supposed to be something where we can look back on, reflect on, see the cool moments that we've had with people, to be able to, look back on the past, 10 years from now, to be interesting. And also too, to bring people together as a community. I want TBAP to be a community of people. We just started a Discord. We're going to be, utilizing that. I want more like-minded people that feel the same, that want a community of people to be able to talk to be able to bounce opinions and views and their thoughts, and not just about politics, about everything in life. We need to help one another out. We need to go back to that style of community, and let's use the tools we have, technology, the internet. Let's use these things to be able to keep in contact with one another. Let's help each other. Let's bring each other up. Let's not be scared to be wrong. That's the biggest thing I see all the time. And I get it. I can be like that too. Trust me. The people that know me know how my personality is. It's very strong. I'm very opinionated. I can be very hard-headed, but you have to continue to work to take that down, to open up yourself to criticism, to being wrong, to learning. That's the only way we're going to grow. It is. It's the only way. So I appreciate you guys for listening. I really appreciate all the support from everybody who watches, everybody who shares, everybody who likes, everybody who subscribes. It means the utmost to me, guys. Growing this thing organically, it's going to be slow. You guys helping spread the word really means the most to me, really helps this show so much. Let's start helping one another. If you see value in it, if you see yourself noticing that you've been watching for 5-10 minutes, it's worth spreading to somebody else so they can learn, so they can hear these things, these conversations, and who knows, maybe they may want to come on, let's help, let's get into this now, as it's small, and let's help grow this. Not for me, for everybody here. You know, this is going to be a place for everybody. So, like I said, I appreciate it to everybody. Anybody who's ever helped the show, you know who you are. And I deeply, deeply thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's meant the most to me. I don't know if you guys, you know, I don't talk much about it. Some of these people would like to stay anonymous. They know who they are. They know the contributions they've given to this show. And it wouldn't be what it is without you. So, all right, guys. Well, let's get into it. So, let me know how you feel about it towards the end. And thank you again. Cool. Leo, you're back. How you been, man?
Pretty good. Life
good?
Is great. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Pull up just a little bit on that mic.
A little bit. Yeah.
It's been a while. I think we were talking before we went on air about the last time you were here. I think it was probably close to almost 2 years.
Probably, yeah.
I might be a little off on it. It's been a while.
Yeah,
so.
It's been a while for sure.
Glad to have you back, man.
Thank you.
Last time that we spoke, it was at the beginning of the, you know, my podcast journey. So it may have been a little all over the place. It tends to be a lot of my conversations. Yeah. But today I would like to dig in more. That way, you know, we had a good discussion last time. I think people should still go check that out. We covered a lot of great stuff actually. And it was quite lengthy. But today, there's a couple of things that we want to focus on, that you want to address, you want to talk about. So, the floor is yours, man. Let's, kind of dive in a little bit more, like we discussed, of your background, your history, maybe some things we didn't hit on last time.
So a little bit about myself, pretty much. So in 2018, 2019, I believe, I did the unthinkable, right? I left a secure career with Cerner. I had just received an award. I had just received promotion and permission to apply for a different job. But I knew something that my bosses and my coworkers didn't know. And that's that companies are required to disclose before they do any type of big mergers. They're supposed to disclose that with the government. And so I knew there was a big merger coming, and I didn't know necessarily that 1,300 people were going to lose their jobs. So I really couldn't tell my coworkers, hey, you know, you might want to start looking for a job, you know, but I certainly did, right? And so what I did was what I would do is I would start applying for dream jobs and stuff. And so I applied for a job out of the UK in Europe. Called Poker News, and to my amazement, got the call and was given the opportunity to not only get double of what I was getting paid at Cerner, right? And this is a great career already, but a fucking blast, bro. I mean, just covering some of the world's biggest events, a lot of celebrities, a lot of millionaires, billionaires, athletes, and stuff like that, and so.
And was this merger the Oracle merger?
Yeah, the Oracle merger.
Okay.
Where
I've been in that building.
Essentially, almost 1,300 people lost their jobs. Not to mention, taxpayers lost millions and millions of dollars. Just in Legends alone, the building, they lost $32 million. This merger was not supposed to go through because they had certain obligations. So when you take taxpayer money and you say, okay, we want this incentive to build this huge building.
Subsidies,
right? They're supposed to, they're required to stay a certain length, right? Because it's part of the contract. Okay, you're going to keep these jobs here in Kansas City, and you're going to keep these people employed, right? And so that's part of the deal. But of course, they didn't give a fuck, and the politicians certainly didn't give a fuck, right? And so all those people lost their jobs, and so. And of course,
just a bit. Sorry. On the mic. No, you just scoot back just a bit.
A little bit.
You're good.
I'm a little close.
No, you're good.
Yeah. No. So all these people lost their jobs essentially. Like I said, almost 1,300 people in the Kansas City metro area. That was a huge impact, right? These are careers. These are big careers that people lost. And so So I got very, very, very lucky, right, to have be given the opportunity with Poker News. I had already been traveling and playing a lot of poker all over the country. You know, I have caches from one side of the country in Lake Tahoe to the other side, which is Atlantic City, New Jersey. So I've had caches all over the country. I think I've won about 16 satellites, including one here at Harris, where they presented me with the big check or whatever.
What's the most you ever won? Can you say?
No, I won't say. Some of these games are, some of these games that I play is with sketchy people that is private games and stuff like that. They're not good players, and I don't know where they get their money from, but I'm sure the fuck glad to take it. You ain't
lying, dude. That's crazy.
And so we set up games once in a while where in undisclosed locations.
Oh, do you still play to this day?
Yeah, I still play to this day. Yeah.
Awesome.
Not as much as I used to, unless I find a good cash game. But I was always a cash game player, right? I was never really a tournament player. So
what does that mean? What's the difference between cash and tournament?
Cash game is just you can sit at the table with whatever amount.
Cash out whenever you want.
The hell you
that's
want.
How we play at the house.
Yeah, exactly. But or I mean, a tournament, obviously, you just
you got to stay in.
Yeah,
right. That makes sense.
To me, these tournaments nowadays, I think they're all luck, right? And this is from a guy that covered some of the biggest events in the world, right? I pretty much lived in Vegas for 2 months out of the year, right? Every year, and so covering some of these events and stuff, and to me, they're just a bunch of luck, right? And people get mad when I say that, right? And I probably shouldn't be saying that, right? But I mean, it's
what do you think changed?
Well, they got greedy. They're not giving them enough chips, right? And so it becomes a shove fest, right? I mean, round 1, round 2, everyone's shoving pretty much just to try to double up and have a chance at the tournament, right? And so it becomes nothing but luck, honestly. And so I stay away from the tournament unless I win a satellite or something. Right. And like I said, I've won.
And you've done your fair share, yeah.
Yeah, I won quite a bit of satellites and caches all over the country, and like I played cash games pretty much everywhere, right? And
That's
so
cool.
And so I was already kind of known for poker, which opened up the door for Poker News, and then because of that, I was given the opportunity to do another show, and this one out of Los Angeles, called Hustler Live Casino. So Hustler Live Casino hosts some of the biggest cash games in the world. And so I did live commentary there for them as well, which was a fucking blast. I was originally there to pick up a rooster, believe it or not, from one of the players.
I remember the roosters.
Yeah.
I remember we talked about that.
So the chat was going crazy. I mean, this is a big show, right? This is also a #1 show in their category. And so it was kind of a big deal just to be doing commentary on there. And so, one of the players that I met through the World Series of Poker in Las Vegas told me, "Yeah, come down, bro." And I've always had chickens, roosters, and shit. And so he's like, "I'll give you one of mine if you come to LA and come to my ranch." He's got a ranch outside of LA too. And so I went down and picked it up, and that was part of the show. So it was kind of funny and stuff. But yeah, cool experience. But I did the unthinkable again. So I left that behind, right? Traveling was amazing. The job was amazing, right?
You get burnt out though after a while.
No, it's not that I got burnt out. It was a lot of fucking fun, bro. And it's just the fact that you're there in Vegas playing cash games when you're not working or hanging out in Vegas. It's a fucking blast, right? Yeah. And there's always private parties with athletes and all the people that play are pretty well off. You're always in the know. You're always in those parties. You're always here, there. I did the unthinkable because I've always been passionate about politics, right? And so I applied for the Young Turks. The TYT had the Young Turks Academy. So the Young Turks Academy was basically kind of like an internship to start your own YouTube channel covering local stuff in your area, right? And so I applied, and out of all the people there, received the call and got the interview, and they liked me enough to, and they felt I knew enough about politics and what I was talking about to where I got hired, which was a dream. Even though this wasn't a paying gig, it was basically like an internship.
Right.
And it didn't guarantee that I would ever make it to the Young Turks channel or anything like that.
What would you help with?
So basically my job, they trained me to how to look up stuff, right? So where are politicians getting their funding from? Where's the money coming from? What's basically they train me on how to do research, right? And
how to navigate different articles and looking for biases and stuff like that. Yeah.
And so that was part of my training and stuff like that. So when I finished training, I started, of course, doing videos, YouTube videos here in Kansas City about what was happening with our local legislators, right? And stuff like that. Wasn't very successful, right? Didn't have a bunch of views or anything like that, but I never did it for that, right?
You can't do it for the views.
No, you can't. You probably know that, right?
I know.
You got to do it because you fucking like it, right?
If I did it for views, I would have quit this podcast already.
There you go, bro. And you said it best, man.
Yeah. No, I get it, man, because, you got to be passionate about this stuff. If it's got to be something like almost like a hobby. Like you said, it's got to be something that you're just, you like, no one pays me when I go hunt, you know what I mean? So I go out there and I enjoy it. It's the same thing about talking to people. I do it because I like to talk to people, not because I'm trying to get views or cash or whatever it may be, or some sort of creating this career. Would I enjoy that? Yeah, I would enjoy that. But if that's my only mission, I'm going to get burnt out. Just like if, I'm sure you did want to run. I think, were you running or you did want to run for city council?
I was going to run for a position. I wanted to go after Manny Abarca's seat, right? So that was...
what happened to that dude?
So
we talked about him a couple of times on here. I heard he was going through a lot of shit with his wife and had a bunch of stuff.
I don't know what his situation is right now, but I heard some pretty bad stuff. So I don't think he's going to be around. And I predicted that.
Does he still have his position though?
He still has his position, right? Okay. And so, I'm not one to gossip, but it's
I'm not saying that personal. But I'm not saying that.
But I'm pretty sure. I mean, everyone's heard the stories, right? Where his baby's mom was, whatever. I really, I don't get into the personal. What I like to get into is what is he doing, right?
That's what I'm saying.
The corruption. It's
we all have shit in our own personal lives. So I'm not saying that we need to hold him accountable. Like whatever he had, that's not what bothers me at all. Your mugshot shows up. Hey, I got a mugshot too, dog. I'm not worried about that. My thing is that what I didn't like, what I had seen during that time, and we talked about this, I believe, is his push for this stadium move. And I was just like, man, what he's going on these little podcasts, which, hey, credit to him. He sees kind of what we just seen in the last election, a podcast tour that helped benefit, the Republican Party. So he's like, well, I'm going to start going on these little podcasts and start discussing how beneficial the move can be for us. But even though it's like, I follow Patrick Toohey, who I've had on the podcast. And I'm reading all his articles and how this is going to be a complete fail, and he's comparing it to Power and Light and other things that have been given subsidies that the taxpayers end up paying the note for it because they're either inflating the possible numbers that they could earn, from these things, or they're requiring more money somehow. All these things that where we get stuck with it. And so when I watched him do all that shit, it just irked me because what I was listening to kind of a normie. It's like, oh yeah, fun football. You know how football people are.
Right.
I love the Chiefs. I don't care. It's going to be great. Instead of actually looking at it and going, well, what else disruption or what else is behind the curtain here that's going to happen,
So here's the thing. So what they're not saying is the most important, right? So what they're not saying about what happened in Florida with the Florida Marlins, which was a similar deal of what we were doing here in Kansas City, using city bonds, doing all kinds of, to try to get that money to raise for the Kansas City.
Guaranteeing employment, but yet you start to look into it, and a lot of them are only seasonal, and part-time. And
not to mention behind closed doors what was being said, right? And we were a part of those meetings, right?
Because you were with the
with Casey Tenants
okay.
at the time, yeah. So we got to see exactly what was happening, and so Manny Abarca, his family were guaranteed a luxury suite for life, right? And
I'm glad you said that because somebody sent that to me.
Yes,
because I have listeners
and
of the show.
Said this,
yeah.
2 years ago, right?
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And people, yeah.
I can't remember if you said it on the last episode.
I don't know if I said it on the episode, but I know I said it in one of my videos.
You probably did on one of your videos.
Yeah. So that's the problem is that guys like that we don't need, right?
Yeah.
We need something that we need people that are going to actually be public servants that are going to work for the people of Kansas City and America, right?
Because without taking bribes.
Exactly. And so what happened in Florida with the Florida Marlins, for example, it got so out of control that, I mean, these interest rates with these bonds and all these different things of how they're raising the money for these stadiums devastates the people of the city. Absolutely devastates them, because what happens is that taxes have to go up because they have to pay for that stadium. They have to cover the cost for that stadium. So when taxes go up, rent goes up for people. Mm-hmm. Homelessness goes up for people. And all because we want to fund a stadium so that a bunch of grown men in tights can play a kids game, right? And that's not something that our country needs, mm-hmm. right? We need someone.
It's not a necessity.
We need things that are gonna, they're high paying tech jobs that are gonna keep up with the world, and make America great. Mm-hmm. Not just talk about making America great, make it great, and compete with the world. We're so far behind technology; it's not even funny. I mean, mm-hmm. we're barely on 5G. Even communist China is 10G right now. They have 10G technology. They have their first flying taxis already, for God's sakes. Really? They have bullet trains that go across cities. They have public transportation that's just unmatched, right? Mm-hmm. They have cars that are driving down 70 miles an hour and they see an object on the street and they'll rise automatically and then lower back down when that object is cleared. I mean, mm-hmm. they have cars that can drive on the street and then on the water and then back on the street like it is nothing.
Yeah, the only problem with bringing that tech here is that we got to also face the realization of possible mass job loss, because I've been predicting here in the next 10 years, just from some of the articles that are being sent to me and reading, is that, AI is going to put a lot of people out of work. And are we ready for that?
Yeah, no. So AI is going to put a lot of people out of work, unfortunately. So I have a lot of certifications that pretty much went to shit, right? Yeah. Because my studies are cloud engineering, so cloud storage and all that stuff. That's where my niche was, but it's almost non-existent, mm-hmm. Unless you've already on that field and you're a high level person. It's just not. Yeah. It's non-existent pretty much.
I got a buddy who messaged me the other day, and he's a listener of the show. He goes by Post, and he's just. This dude is a wealth of knowledge, man.
Yeah.
And he really helps me balance a lot of what I'm trying to, all the information I'm trying to soak in. And, we were discussing the whole Trump's bringing back jobs to America.
Yeah.
Sounds great. I would love that.
Yeah.
But is it kind of, what do I say, ironic that the discussion is happening now when we know we're 10 years away probably from a lot of those jobs being replaced by robots?
You hit the nail on the head. Yep, that's exactly true. Yeah. So Trump is trying to bring something back mm-hmm. that no longer exists, right? So a lot of the stuff, countries are going away from manufacturing. They're a lot of the robots are doing these jobs now, mm-hmm. and so it's not that we can. I mean, we can bring manufacturing, right? It's a great idea, yeah. right? I was screaming this 30 years ago at classmates, right? Arguing with them and saying, what are you doing? Why are you supporting Bush? Why are you supporting Clinton, sending jobs overseas? Because both Democrats and Republicans were doing the same thing.
Right.
And so, and I stood alone. I didn't even know I was a progressive, right? I didn't even know that existed, right? But mm-hmm. I was sitting there like, what are we doing in office? Like what's happening, right? You're shipping jobs overseas. And you know, their argument, and I remember the debate, right? And they would say, well, if I was a CEO of a company, I would want to maximize my profit. I'd send my jobs to China.
That's the ugly side of capitalism.
But here's the thing, though. Those guys weren't CEOs. They're not the owners of these companies. And so that was my argument. You're not the owner. And so
yeah, you're going to be the one that gets fucked.
What's more important is, that we keep these jobs here, right? And so it came back to bite us in the ass 30 years later, right? 20 years later, whatever it was. And so here's the thing, right? So, I'm very proud that I've stood on the right side of history, right? And you can go back and you can see my videos and you can see I was on the right side of history. Why? It's not that I'm smart. It's not that, it's just that I care about what's happening to our people. This is our country. We live here. We all live here. If we get fucked, we're all going to get fucked, right? Mm-hmm. What affects one American affects all Americans, right? So I'll get into the first topic here, the Republican Party, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what we were talking about. Okay, So for example, the Republican Party, and I don't know that anyone's ever explained it like this, like I'm going to explain it here. I've never heard it, not even from my own side, not even from the progressives, right? Mm-hmm. The Republican Party is very unique because the Republican Party, the Republicans don't necessarily vote Republican because of Trump. They don't even necessarily vote Republican because of the Second Amendment. They don't necessarily vote for the Republican Party because they're pro-life and all these different issues. If you talk to 100 different Republicans, they're all going to disagree with some of those issues. They're all going. They don't necessarily vote for the Republican Party because they like Israel, right? And Israel has complete control of the Republican Party. Mm-hmm.
I would say both parties.
Both parties. You're right about that one. Yeah, both parties. Yeah.
There's like 250 congressmen over there in Israel recently.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the initiation. When you get in office, the first thing you do, go to Israel.
I heard that from Thomas Massey. He said that. Yeah. He said they come and knock on your door, AIPAC, and they want you to sign up.
Exactly. Yeah. As soon as you get in office, Israel.
Yeah.
And you bow down to the Israelis, and not only that, they give you a handler too.
Oh, I know.
So here's the thing.
Go kiss the wall.
Basically, yeah. And so where was I going with this? Oh yeah. So they don't vote Republican because of all these issues, right? They vote Republican because they feel that the same people are responsible for all of Americans' problems: minorities, Black people, Hispanics. This is why they vote Republican. They've done it for way before Trump, and they're going to do it after Donald Trump. This is why they vote Republicans, because they feel that minorities are America's problems. And so they're okay with it, because if you go to a white neighborhood, what are you going to see? You're going to see perfect lawns, houses, schools. So the Republican Party is doing their job on their side. They seem to think that minorities are all the problem. Hispanics are the problem, right? So that's why they're okay with losing their rights to abortion, right? So even if a little 13-year-old girl gets pregnant, like there were stories on the news that she was raped, right? Mm-hmm. Was pregnant, and they said, no, you have to have that baby. We don't care that you were raped, right? You have to have your rapist kid, mm-hmm. And that's a true story. That happened in America, right? And they're okay with it so long as the people that they feel need to be screwed over are screwed over. We have a long history in America of this happening, right? We've had so many different opportunities to get universal health care and be able to catch up with the world, right? Mm-hmm. And so what happened? We didn't get universal health care because Black people were going to get it. That's reality. That's exactly what was argued and stuff like that. And it's been argued for a long time. So the Republican Party is okay with them with stuff like this not passing, so long as the Mexican or the Black people or don't get it. That's reality. Yeah. And like I said,
do you think it's fair though to classify all Republicans as that though?
No, and you know, and this is something that the
Because
Young
I talk
Turks.
to both sides.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And I like to feel that a majority don't think that way. You know what I mean? There are people that do, for sure. But like, especially in this last election, it was very different, even for myself. Being identified as a libertarian, which I get shit a lot because it's not necessarily that I think our party's going to do anything, because the Libertarian Party is kind of a shit show. But I believe in libertarian principles. Okay. But when Trump ran this last time on the campaign off of a lot of libertarian ideology, Doge,
I agree.
God, I'm going blank here. He ran off of Doge, cutting income taxes, going after the IRS, these type of things, you know, that, you know, may only be a handful of things. Right, and I'm sure there's probably a couple I'm missing right now. I've looked through my notes. But it's like, oh, finally somebody's talking about helping the American people. Yeah. And came to the Libertarian Convention. I don't know why. I do think Ross Albright should have been freed, but I don't know why that was the big winning factor for libertarians. But so he says all this, and then he gets a lot of the libertarian votes, including mine. Yeah,
exactly.
And I haven't voted in fucking since Gary Johnson in 2012. So I was like, man, I'm getting older now. I definitely agree. Yeah, I gotta get into this. You know what I mean? This guy might have a shot. Now, granted, you know, hindsight bias is always easy for some, you know, when they tell me, oh, you thought he was going to. Right. You can say that, and I get that. But at some point, you have to entrust in something. Right. Or else none of this means anything. And also, you're only giving us 2 fucking shitty choices, you know, to pick from. So he got a lot of people to sway over. But my whole thing is, and this is what I try to tell people, look at what's being done. You know, does he have a couple of small W's? Maybe here and there. They all do. Or else if they only accomplished 0% of what they campaigned on, then it would be a total shit show. Yeah. They at least got to accomplish 10. So, but I would say is like, but when it goes down the line of like 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, up to what are we at now? 8, 9 months. You have to start calling stuff out, even though it's your person, it's your party. You need to call out what's wrong. Like we said, Israel, like all the 180s that he's done with the Doge fail, and you know what happened to income taxes, what happened to no more wars. That was another one. You know, you go and bomb fucking Iran out of, you know, like, so stuff like this. And I know it confuses people with me, and this is just me talking about me personally, when they are like, well, hold on, didn't you? But now you're doing it. Right. Well, yeah, that's how it's supposed to be. Right. You just don't vote for Kamala or vote for Trump and then just, I'm going to put a blindfold on and not, you know, hold them accountable. Exactly. Like you said, these people are supposed to be public servants. So if you do put them into office, you need to hold them accountable, especially if you voted for them, you know? So something that Donald Trump did very good at, he's really good at is touching those, basically saying that he's going to do these things, right? Yeah, Epstein was another one. I just thought of that too. He's great. He's great at saying, I'm going to do this. I'm going to release the Epstein files. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Because he doesn't talk like a robot politician, right? These politicians are like but he's going in decline right now. Have you noticed that? Like, he's going in decline a little bit. So yeah, like So I don't disagree with anything with Donald Trump, right? He's no policies, like Joe Biden vibes. But I will say that he does that really great. So he's able to get the independent voters. He was able to get the libertarian voters because he talked the big game, right? And so that's something that he did do really good at. Yeah. And I think people in general are just done with politicians, right? They're just. They had it, right? Well, Leo, it's hard enough to keep up on all this shit. Yeah. Because it's like drinking from a fucking fire hydrant. Right. And to try to get everything right and know everything about that individual or about that party or about, you know, whatever it may be, it's difficult. So then when you're able, imagine this. I am fortunate, not any longer since I just took a new position. I'm going to be back on to where every hour of my day is going to be kept with meetings and phone calls. But I'm fortunate that I'm able to listen to content all fucking day.
Yeah.
So I'm able to listen to these debates. I'm able to listen to these things. And even then I miss things.
Yeah.
Like
exactly.
I just got on this. I heard about the Israel stuff last year. I started to dabble in it, from my brother and a couple of friends that were telling me about it. And then really though, this year has been a deep dive into understanding all of it.
Exactly.
And I'm like, how did I miss
Yeah,
it? This has been around for so long.
You definitely surprised me with some of the stuff you said about Israel earlier.
It's crazy, man. But to a normie, they're not going to know. And it's wrong that those politicians are taking advantage of them not knowing and then just putting on this flashy parade that, Trump and the Democrats as well like to do. And then they just go, well, I think they're right. I'm going to entrust in them. And then just to completely 180 on them is just wrong.
So yeah, that's very, very common. So, I mean, most people don't really take a deep dive into politics, right? You hit the nail on the head again. I mean, that's very, very, very true.
And should they have to, Leo? Like if I hired you as an accountant, should I have to deep dive into my finances or should you have to explain it to me because I'm paying you to be transparent and to give us digestible information. And yet we know the government doesn't go into a government website. Good luck.
Yeah, it's a mess. I mean, just even the government shutdowns, like we were seeing earlier.
I had up on there. Yeah.
I mean, it's a fucking mess, right? Yeah. I mean, the airports were a fucking mess a couple of days ago just because they didn't have enough air traffic controllers, right?
Oh,
I mean, it's everything is just completely a fucking mess in our country right now. Mm-hmm. And so I think the people are just sick and fucking tired of it, right? Mm-hmm. They're just tired of it, right? Because, I mean, what's happening to our country, right? I mean, it's being destroyed right in front of our eyes.
It's being divided too.
And it's being divided because it's called divide and conquer, right? Mm-hmm. And so... we'll get into
it's not a new tactic either. Like what you were discussing with the race issues. This is being driven. You know what I mean? It's being steered through media. We see it all. And I think it's also a swing from the pendulum of one side of it. There was a point throughout a certain amount of time, let's say 8 years, where you couldn't talk about shit or you'd be kicked off the internet. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And now it's swinging back aggressively to where it's overly, saying some radical, crazy shit, So I see that as an issue every time I watch this stuff. It's just like the pendulum will never stay centered. It just sways back and forth of extremes. Yeah. And to me, it almost seems like kind of like some sort of intelligence motive, like CIA type shit, to where they're wanting to stir everything up. Because if everything was, if everybody had a good head on their shoulders and was able to understand the information, a lot of these people wouldn't be in power that are in power to this day.
Exactly true. So that brings us to the next topic, which is media, right? Mm-hmm. And so who benefits the most from elections and from the way politics, are run in America? It's media companies. Mm-hmm. Just the presidential race alone, from the Democrats and the Republicans, there was over $500 million spent on Kamala and on Trump, right? Mm-hmm. That's $1 billion on one race. There's millions and millions of dollars on billions and billions of dollars on these races, every 2 years, every 4 years and stuff like that. And so who wrecks in all that money is media companies. Media companies make all that money. And so it benefits them to divide people, right? Because they get all the revenue for these political commercials, these advertisements, all these things. That's why you have Sean Hannity that makes $50 million a year. Mm-hmm. That's why you have Anderson Cooper on the other side that makes about the same. And so it benefits media to keep spreading propaganda in our country, right? Mm-hmm. Because so what happens is that the truth is not really put out there, right? If you even in local news here, the way they were pushing the Royal Stadium, the way they said, "Screw you, the voters. We don't care what you say. we're going to do it anyways. We're going to overturn it, just like they overturn everything else that the voters voted for, right? And I have some notes here.
Yeah, there's no real good journalism. I feel like a lot of the times they're just all biased. I see it in the Kansas City Star. I see it on KCTV5. I see it on Fox 4. It's just there's just complete biasy. Like we're going to send out articles that reflect our views, and they won't say that, but I see it. I see it on the right and the left every time. It's hard to find. I use ground news a lot, to try to stay on centered articles, but even then it's you have to be able to analyze what's being told to you and have some critical thinking on whether or not they're trying to sway you or not. They're just being objective. Yeah, that's
very, very, very true. So when I was with KC Tenants, and so we ran a campaign against the Kansas City Royals, right? Mm-hmm. They spent $6 million. We spent $100,000, and their whole thing was, let's go ahead and get the stadium passed. Let's advertise. They put Patrick Mahomes. They put Travis Kelce out there in some of these flyers and these signs and stuff like that. And when we beat them, because we beat them, mm-hmm. All the news were there and stuff like that. And I was one of the ones that was interviewed. I came out on the Kansas City Star and stuff. Mm-hmm. Even when they interviewed me, they didn't write down everything that I said. They took out a little section of what they wanted to sound it like, and then they basically said, screw what you have to say, right? Like, and so we celebrated and everything, but the reality of groups, and there's some amazing groups out there. I'm always going to support them. KC Tenants, mm-hmm. Decarcerate KC. There's the Sunrise Movement, working with public transportation. I've done work with some of these groups, and I've been there, and I support them 100%. But here's the thing. And people are probably going to get upset with me for saying this, but
you're on the right show.
When you when you deep dive into this, and I'll say this first. Mm-hmm. There's some amazing people in these groups. I mean, amazing people that are activists that are out there trying to do what's best for our country, right? And try to do what's best for the people. And I could speak on a lot about KC Tennis because I was part of a lot of their groups, fundraising and this and that. But when you take a deep dive into these groups, who's funding them? That's very important. And I'll tell you why. It's very important because when it comes to picking a candidate, for example, if KC Tenants wanted to run a candidate, that candidate has a good chance of winning the election. In fact, 4 out of the 5 candidates that they've selected to run for a public office have won, and easily, right? Because those women and those people that in that part of that group, they are some tough people. They are out there. They're hitting the pavement. They're talking to people. They're handing out flyers. But and there's a great cause. I'm always going to support them. I'm always going to be behind them. Mm-hmm. But the people that fund those groups, they don't necessarily care about other issues, right? And so even though they care about housing and public housing and homelessness, right, which we have a huge problem. I can get into a whole thing about that. But those are great causes. But the problem is that they are never going to be able to select a candidate who's progressive, who doesn't really aligned with the left or the right? That's a public servant, that's willing to be a public servant mm-hmm. for the people of Kansas City. That simply does not exist. So we're going around in circles. They're picking people that should probably, that are going to be puppets essentially, right? Mm-hmm. No different than Quentin Lucas, no different than Manny Abarca, no different than Emmanuel Cleaver. And these are Democrats. This is my own party that I'm talking bad about. Mm-hmm. And so,
do the progressives identify with Democrats, though? Or are they kind of their own thing?
So progressives will always vote with Democrats because we feel they're the lesser of the two evils, right? Right. And I've always said there's two.
It's kind of like conservative libertarians, like kind of what I identify as,
So in life, there's 2 types of people. Mm-hmm. Only 2 types of people, right? You either have the capability to have sympathy for others, or you don't have the capability to have sympathy for others. A lot of people that constantly vote Republican, think about themselves and themselves only. They don't care about anything else, right? They don't feel that making life easier for others is going to make America great, right? And so that's the problem that we have, because it's not just Republicans. We have a country full of diversity, right? I like to think we have the best country in the world because of the food. The fact that you can go to any major city like Chicago, for example, and you could get authentic Chinese. A lot of people think they've had Chinese. They've never had Chinese. When you get authentic Chinese food, that's extremely good food. Greek food. I love Greek food. Italian food. People from all over the world live in our country, right? And we're able to go get authentic food. If you travel to other countries, that's not necessarily the case. And so our diversity is very, very strong in America, and it's really great. And so that's what I think makes our country great. But
don't you think that we can have all that stuff without involving that, like that sort of identity politics into the whole mainstream deal? Like, don't you think if we can still have all these beautiful things,
right?
As long as my thought is that instead of always pushing these agendas, Democrats being on the side of what I see a lot of the times has to do with like more of spreading funds through everybody. What would you call it? Like kind of social programs. Yeah. I tend to see a lot of race involved in that too. Like I said, identity politics. And then on the conservative sides, they're more of, I don't know, what would you say they are? Very war prone, kind of, I don't know, man, because the conservatives are kind of getting broken up right now. I don't know how it is in the Democratic Party, but I know a lot of conservatives are pulling off of the whole Republican train. But just the common, war CEOs control everything, just let them have it type shit. And I might be wrong. People, please weigh in and comment. I'm just seeing those two kind of extremes. When in the center, though, like looking at it, can't we have all these things? I don't want war, so let's take that out. But whatever it is the Republicans want, whether it's, they preach for small government, yet they want a Republican Party that is huge. To me, libertarians, like, we preach for small government, for less involvement, which would allow to accommodate both sides, right? I don't believe in the social welfare programs. I know that's probably where we differ on that. My idea on that is just because I think everything can be done better through private organizations, churches, organizations like what you discussed, these organizations, pulling their money together to be able to take care of their communities. I think why we got away from that is because, the United States is very big. The federal government is ginormous. So we tend to rely on them to kind of take care of all these things when really we can do them locally, and people think, well, some people won't. Yeah, some people won't, but a lot of people are charitable, So I think a lot of these issues that we're trying to push on one another that we don't like, we could fix by just, hey, everyone go do your own thing and just govern yourselves. The only thing government should be responsible for is the citizens' rights and property. And that kind of branches to a lot of things if you think about it. Like if those two things, if that's their sole mission is to protect those things, and I'm not an open borders guy, libertarian anymore, so I do believe you have to keep your nation secure. That's my thoughts on it. I think those three things, it covers a vast amount of issues that we have.
So we already have perfect examples of that in our country, right? Where everything is privatized. You can look at Pennsylvania, for example.
Right.
Everything from the highways, the sewer system, the schools, pretty much everything is privatized. And I can tell you that it's extremely expensive. Not just extremely expensive, but it just simply doesn't work, right? And so, and more states are having to go with toll roads. We're building one in Overland Park now that's going to be toll.
You said it won't work. Why? I'm sorry.
Well, here's the thing, right? our tax dollars are supposed to go back towards the people. It's not supposed to go to wars. It's not supposed to go to the pockets of the politicians and you know, corruption and all that stuff.
And I would also say to some of the programs they have that end up not doing anything. Like we talk about the homelessness issue. We throw billions of dollars at that throughout all different states. And yet it continues to increase. Because in my mind, there's a symptom, like the underlying condition of this issue isn't just a Band-Aid of money. We can't fix it that way. We need to figure out, why are all these people? Is this an economic issue? You know, it's getting harder to live. Is this a drug addiction? What's causing drug addiction? You know, all these different things. And let's start focusing on that instead of just, we're seeing the numbers. And granted, this is just what you may be reading something different. We're seeing the money get high, more and more and more at these programs, but we're still seeing homelessness rise. So something's not happening. Something's not getting fixed.
So charity's been around for over 100 years, yet the poverty level only gets worse, right? And so charity's not the answer, right? And so I kind of sort of agree there. But here's the thing, right? So for example, let me go to healthcare and then I'll talk about the homelessness problem. But with healthcare, for example, Americans are spending more on healthcare and we're getting less. And so the issue is that it's not that you know, Democrats want big government and stuff like that. As a matter of fact, I would say the opposite. You know, I would say Democrats are more of a corporatist, and also the Republicans are corporatists as well. But the Republicans are also oligarchy, right? They want to privatize everything. They feel even the post office, right? That's not a good thing when you're paying these high taxes, and then on top of that, you're going to have to pay for post office. You're going to have to pay for your roads. Then what is the government paying for? Essentially, more wars.
Well, I think the thought would be is to give the money back, but that's not happening, right?
That's the thing. That's not happening.
Because I like the private sector. I think private sector is the best way to go. Now, is there an ugly side to the private sector? For sure. Like you said, there's going to be companies that take advantage of people. There's going to be companies that hike up prices. There's going to be all these things that happen that we think we can fix with regulations through the government, which there are good regulations, but we tend to overregulate sometimes too, which causes some issues. We see it in construction. We see it in other areas. So what is the right way? Is it a little mixture of both? I don't know. I think we try that, but every time it ends up swaying one way more and never staying in the middle, like I said earlier. So.
Well, without a functioning government, you don't have a functioning society, right? I mean,
well, no, I'm not saying don't have a government. I just say keep it small, you know. Well, I mean, how many federal employees do we have? It's like 3 million people or something like that. I mean, it's ginormous. Kansas City is like the number one federal employer here in Kansas City.
So, okay, a couple of things. The number one employer in America is Walmart.
Well, I meant Kansas City.
No. But let me just go with that, right? So our number one employer is Walmart. This is our number one employer in America, and I would argue by the numbers is Walmart. But if you take into account all the fast food restaurants and you combine them, fast food is our number one employer. So because these are our number one employers, we're not investing in what we're supposed to be investing in, right? We're not investing in infrastructure. We're not investing in manufacturing and in future jobs for technologies and stuff like that. So these are our number one employers. We become what we did to other countries for a long time, right? We become that country that pretty much enslaves its people from work to home, work to home, work to home. People in America are not happy, right? They're having to work extremely long hours to keep up with rent, a car payment. Most people can't even afford a car, and so that's what it's become. And so,
why do you think that is? Because I agree with you.
It's corruption. It's money in politics. It's now the Israeli states of America. It's not even the United States of America, right? That's how it feels for us, right? Because,
but I would also say it's the devaluing of the dollar. I mean, what's the dollar worth now? 30% of what it was worth.
I believe
originally?
it's lost. It's lost. Last time I checked, a couple months ago, it lost 11% of its value.
I mean, when you continue to print money and
just this year
continue to
alone,
go
yeah.
over the deficit and continue to hike up, that was another thing that Trump upset me about was, hey, we're supposed to get control of this debt, and now we just put another $5 trillion on it from the BBB. It's like, what are we doing? You know, and in thoughts
Yeah.
that it'll get paid back, but we've seen this before.
Yeah.
We've seen. A buddy of mine was just telling me that when they do the property tax stuff, and a lot of that property tax goes to schools, and they have to make like estimations off of this property tax and how much money, like these schools a lot of the times go over their caps, and it's a bit. I can't explain it. Please don't rely on me to explain it.
Yeah.
I'm just giving the idea. Go search on Google for this shit.
Right.
Tons of articles that are written out there by way smarter people than I. But like, so what they're doing a lot of times, what I'm seeing is they're kicking the can down the road continuously in hopes that it'll work, but then it doesn't, and then it's somebody else's problem.
So yeah, no, you're right. So every year we pay approximately $1 trillion in interest alone to pay back these loans that we Americans are in to other countries.
Do you even think we can pay that
to
shit
China
back?
to
38 trillion?
It's
That seems like it's far gone.
it's a house of cards, right? And it's eventually going to collapse on us, right? We're a society that's collapsing, right? We hit our height, and now we're slowly going down, unfortunately. And if there's not major changes, it's going to collapse on us completely, right? And I honestly, I hate to say this, but I don't see any changes from Democrats or Republicans.
They're too busy fighting with each other, trying to get one up. I mean, we're seeing the dumb shit that's coming out of the fucking White House Instagram page with the trolling, which, I mean, guys, we can say it's funny. And is it funny? Yeah. But is it fixed? It's not funny when nothing's getting fixed. You know what I mean? We would be upset if the Democratic Party was doing that. Yeah. Why are we allowing, you know what I mean? The dumb shit, the pictures off the wall, auto pin shit. You know, it's not funny. It's not funny to me when we're still suffering from it. You know what I mean? And you're not fixing stuff. Now, granted, I know things can't get fixed in 1 year or 4 years or whatever. This is going to be a long battle ahead of us. But I'm continuing to see, and we just seen from this shutdown between the Democrats and Republicans, that they can't figure this out with one another, which is ultimately, it's almost like, to me, as just a normal dude, I'm sick of these fucking parties. I just want a dude that's going to go in there and listen to us.
Right.
That's it.
Be an actual public servant.
Yeah, that's it.
So,
and it's hard. There's fucking what? How many people here in America? 350 million. So I get it. But this is why I believe, and going back to libertarianism again, it's like, you know, you kind of going into the end of the Fed type thought. You know, it's like, hey, if the federal government has caused this much issues since what, 1914 or whatever, then let's go back to states. Then give it back, so that way I can pick where I want to live, and to be able to that accommodates my life, and it creates competition between states to where if everybody's moving out of this state, well, now we got to figure out why, because you know, they're moving to fucking Kansas because Kansas is great. Now we got to fix our shit in Missouri.
Here's why I don't think we would ever go to states. First and foremost, most states can't even afford to fund themselves, right? So I don't think a lot of people know this, but for example, a state like California makes more money than it spends every year, meaning they got a surplus, right? So they subsidize other states like Alabama, for example, that doesn't have enough money to cover their schools. So every single year from that federal money that California pays to the federal government, that goes to states like Alabama.
Distributing it to other states.
Right. And so that's why we're never going to go to states. But
could you say that maybe those states that don't have as much money are maybe living out of their means of what that state's capable of, and maybe they just need that reality check? It's almost like a state with an open credit card. They just keep swiping because they're trying to keep up with all these other states. Well, in reality, if you only have this much tax dollars in your state, you need to live off those means. You know?
It sounds cruel, but I mean, yeah, I mean, it might. I don't know. I honestly don't know that answer, but
and these are just ideas
because they're within our country, right? I mean, we don't want to let the American people in that state just because their politicians are corrupt or whatever the case, and not fund them, not help them with schools, with roads and stuff like that. So, so it's a toss up. But here's the thing. So about 10 years ago, I said this, and people said, "Oh, what are you talking about?" In our country, we're never going to be attacked militarily. Never. That's never going to happen. But because they don't have to attack us military, they could simply buy off our politicians. And what's happening now would be happening now, right? We're giving billions and billions of dollars to Israel to do whatever the fuck they want to do. They bombed just the last couple of years alone, 4 or 5 countries, including Iran, which is not just anybody, right?
Bomb Qatar,
right?
Our allies,
Qatar, Jordan,
Qatar,
and they're doing a genocide in Palestine with the Palestinian people in Gaza.
Over 65,000 people.
It's unbelievable what we're funding this war. In the meantime, Israel has universal health care. They have free college. They have all these things for their citizens. We don't have none of that yet. We're funding Israel to do these genocides and to do these because they want to take over the Middle East and take over the oil and all that stuff. But it never benefited the American people. And I could go back to Afghanistan and all these other wars that we went into that never really helped us as Americans. They helped the owners of those corporations. They made billions and billions of dollars. And in fact, I could be wrong on this one, but for a long time, we were the number one producer of oil in the world. America was, right? But we have some of the highest prices in the world, right? Because screw the American people. They're making record profits. They don't really care about the American people. It's all about their profits and their money, right? That's
the ugly side of capitalism. Because I believe in capitalism, but I'm also a realist and believe there's still an ugly side to capitalism as well. You know, that mindset that we deal with these elitists, with these rich people of dollars over people. I mean, it's fucked up, man. You got to have some type of morals here. You know, right. I get it. I'm all for you making as much money as you want, but at the same time, I'm also going to call you a piece of shit if you're a piece of shit.
Right. So money doesn't trickle down from the top to the bottom, right? Rich people typically don't spend like.
I like to hope that there's people like that guy in Seattle like 10 years ago who cut his yearly salary. He was the owner of a company, and I think he cut it down to like 75 a year or something to see how it was to live off of that salary or whatever. Right. I don't remember the exact numbers. I'm hoping there's people like that. And who knows? That might have just been a bullshit story. But I hope, because we have a problem generalizing. Kind of like at the beginning when we were discussing Republicans. That's why I kind of pushed back. And I'm like, well, it's probably not every Republican. Yeah. Just like I'm not a believer of all the liberals are pieces of shit. There's some good people out there. There's just some people that are lost in these groups. And they're clicking up because they're like, well, what else do I have to go off of? The same thing with these people who have money that are very wealthy. I like to think that there is, and there more than likely is, handfuls of them that are out there that are trying. But yeah, you're right. Ultimately, from what we see, it looks like the majority is fucked up, wealthy individuals that only care about profit, and that's wrong.
It's almost like an illness, right? I mean, when you have that much money and you're still working 24/7, Elon Musk is a perfect example of that. At some point, you got to say, just retire. I mean, you have enough money. You're never going to be able to spend that.
It's not about the money, though. It's about some sort of power and status. And I mean, that's what they're addicted to. I mean, and that ultimately is what's driving them to create. That's what's driving innovation. You know what I mean? It's almost like when we discuss communist places like China, what the capitalists will debate is that, well, everything is just, to where everybody gets paid the same, everybody does the same, there's no incentives, there's not going to be progress, which I'd like to hear your actual thoughts on that. If you have
with China, I would disagree. I would say they're more,
because you just said that they're doing very well, right?
Even though they're a communist dictator, country. It's run more like
I heard it's private though too. It's just government controlled private companies. I
right.
guess. I don't know how necessarily that's private. But
right. So a lot of the companies China has, for example, a lot of those companies are even though they're privately owned, give benefits from the Chinese government to strengthen their economy.
And
right.
I'm sure they have a say too. The
Right.
Chinese government.
They have a big say. They have the
Yeah.
ultimate say, actually. But what's they're being successful because 90-something% of their population owns at least one home.
Really, that's crazy.
They don't pay taxes when you buy a car. They don't pay taxes on their homes. That's only an American thing. That's not a worldwide thing, right? They don't pay taxes for healthcare. They don't pay to go to public zoos because they're public zoos. They don't pay for certain things, right? That we have to come out of pocket because our government is spending our money on stupid stuff, right?
Or what's the negative though? There's always a negative side to these things.
With China, I would say some of the negatives. Wow.
Other than being under authoritarian rule, to where I'm surely you can't speak freely like we speak freely right now in front of these cameras about their government. And I mean, these are small. I guess some people would say they're small unless you end up in a prison for
They've been known for that, right?
views.
They've been known for that, but not very many people have anything bad to say about China. The people that live there, right? I mean, when you have all these things and you're getting paid good money and poverty is non-existent pretty much, homelessness is non-existent, not pretty much like we have here, you don't really have people complaining, right?
Do you think they hide it?
I mean, of course they do. All governments
because I heard
hide.
there's like camps, like the Uyghurs, they have them in like camps and stuff like that.
So that happened, but it
people
happened.
are jumping off of buildings and shit because they're working 16 hours a day. I mean, these are just things I hear.
Yeah. So those things happened, right? But they happened years ago when China was still in development. It was under rule for a long time under pretty harsh dictators, right? The guy that's in there now, and I don't want to bomb his name and fuck it up, but
Xi Jinping.
Yeah, there you go.
Something like that. Yeah.
So he's I think he's the best thing that ever happened to China. Because I do believe that, like he says, he's a public servant, and I think we're lacking that, right? Because one of his biggest thing is like we work for the people, not the other way around, right. And so that's one thing that we're lacking here in America, in my opinion. We just don't have representation.
I would just say we got to be careful, though, because I'm all for you, because I'm not for the other side of just saying, well, that's a communist country, it's bad overall. Well, I've seen some videos of like there's a guy that drives like a purple Challenger around states like Iraq and Afghanistan, all these crazy places that they're like, don't go to, how people are with Mexico. Don't go to Mexico. You'll get kidnapped by the cartel. Yeah. So like these myths and they're possibilities. I mean, but there's also a possibility you go down to the Northeast, you could get shot. You know what I mean? But there's also, I've been down there millions of times and I've been fine. Yeah. So these are things that could happen and you should be aware, but we almost make them seem, especially when they're across the pond, like it's just this extreme or this extreme. And it's like, it's either great or it's really bad. Well, it could be just in the middle, I mean, I don't think there's a true solution. Even in my libertarian ideas, I don't think if America was to switch to libertarianism, it would be a utopia. You would still have issues that you would have to deal with, but at least there'd be some benefits out of it as well. But like, I don't know, man. I think we just need to be very careful of that stuff, of just assuming because you heard it and it's been regurgitated by so many people, that's what it is. The beauty of YouTube, and granted, it's media still, so you got to be careful of biasy, but you can watch people go to these countries and you can they have these cameras on where they can go around and film stuff, and to be able to show you what life, they're not going to be able to show you everything. China's a huge country, but they're going to be able to show you maybe a different look of what you didn't know. You didn't think it was possible. So
I think that's part of our media problem too. We have a lot of propaganda, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of biases, and they like to tell us that we live in the greatest country. There's nothing wrong in America. Don't even try leaving somewhere else. Mm-hmm. But what I'm hearing from a lot of people, and I talk with people every single day, is that they're tired of being here. They're done with being in America, and I'm hearing it from African Americans. I'm hearing it from whites. I'm hearing it from Hispanics. Mm-hmm. They're like, if we could leave America, we would leave America, right? Because they simply don't have the money to do it. But life has gotten hard. I mean, we had our mayor come out last year, the year before, come out and say that $1,400 a month for an apartment was affordable.
Yeah, right.
That's what he came out and he came out publicly to say this. Not only did he do that, but and he's a Democrat, right? And not only did he say that, he also gave incentives to people who were investing in these neighborhoods, right, near downtown and stuff like that. With the whole gentrification thing, right? He gave them 25-year tax breaks just because they came into that neighborhood and rebuilt a house or whatever. And everybody else in that neighborhood got screwed. They got jacked up 3,000%.
Did you see what happened to Blip, the roastery, the coffee place in the West Bottoms?
It's unbelievable.
Dude, he had a good speech, actually. It's circulating around. I think it's gotten around a lot. I think it was like maybe a month or two ago. But yeah, his property tax went up like 800% or some shit. It was insane.
It's absolute. All these businesses are going out of business. I mean, they can't afford it. So imagine what's going to happen when the stadium goes up. And so, but yeah, I saw that businesses just can't afford to be there.
The problem with subsidies is, and me and Patrick too, he talked about this when he came on, is that when you give these subsidies, and I also had a guy named Casey that came on, and he did very well at being on the opposite side of the argument. So I see both their sides, but I don't like subsidies at all. I don't think you should be giving anybody breaks, any type of, because if you're not giving the American people breaks, and I understand the thought process is we give these companies breaks, they'll bring possible employment for our people and entertainment, and people will attract there, because we got to think about tourism and all that, and all this stuff that brings in money for the city. I get that. But when you give these subsidies out, you don't think all these other companies know that you're giving that shit out? I mean, that's public knowledge. So now they're going to go, well, if I come there, I want that or better, and then it becomes this game of, and then also you're competing, and this is the shitty part, because Casey actually brought this up to me. Then you have to worry about the other side, because, we're a border town. Now you have to deal with Kansas doing it as well. So now they're talking in the ear of the Chiefs, and they're like, well, if you come over here, we'll give you this. That subsidy game is just so nasty, man. If there was anything to stop and outlaw, it's that. Like, fucking write something. You want to write fucking 2000 executive order, write one on that, because that's fucking ridiculous, man.
So they're supposed to oblige by certain rules, right? So when you give a company like Cerner, for example, that we help build to the second largest medical billing company, or medical storage, whatever you want to call it, we help them build the second largest in the world, right? By subsidizing their buildings, tax breaks, you name it. They're supposed to oblige by that contract that you're not going to leave and screw 1,300 people out of a job, right? You're supposed to stay. They're supposed to stay, and they're supposed to oblige. The problem is not so much the subsidies, because what they bring in, it's unbelievable. So that's, the subsidies aren't as big of as a problem as,
but not all the time though. Leo.
No,
that's
right.
the problem.
So I wouldn't subsidize
Power and Light. I think they had to pay they had to use go back and listen to the episode. I think it was like $80 million in taxpayer dollars to cover the footnote on that.
For example, Power and Light, I probably wouldn't have subsidized.
Yeah.
The streetcar, I probably wouldn't have subsidized.
That's the thing, is you can't. It's either you're giving it to all of them because they're not going to come, or else, or they're not going to allow you to cherry pick. Oh, well, we won't give it to you because you're entertainment, but you gave it to Cerner. You know what I mean? So they know this stuff, so they just won't come.
Right. So the difference is that, Cerner was a technology company. It's high-paying career jobs.
No, I get that. I'm just saying
okay.
the owners of those companies are not going to care about that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. They're just going to want what what they seen what was given. So they want that as well, you know.
Yeah, I mean, the whole point as a legislator, as someone who's in charge, is supposed to be that you're thinking about your people first. You're thinking about your country. You're thinking about your city,
right?
Your communities, and so you have to do what's right for the community, right? You have to do what's needed, and so when you break the rules and you tell Cerner, it's okay that you can wipe your hands clean, even though you were obligated to stay here 7 more years according to our contract, and not screw the people out of those millions and millions of dollars, right? Go ahead, wipe your hands. It's okay. Sell it, and then gut all those jobs and get the fuck out of town, because that's exactly what happened, right?
Why'd they gut them? Why didn't they just absorb them?
So whenever
I guess it was during COVID, wasn't it?
No. Well, whenever companies merge, they typically want their company headquarters in certain areas, right? So if the CEO lives in Florida, maybe he wants them there, whatever the case may be, or they just want to gut jobs and say, we want to maximize our profits. We don't care. Gut their jobs. Who cares about jobs? So what that, hundreds of thousands of people are relying on these. Essentially, it trickles down to a lot of people, right? So one job benefits one family, and then it benefits that community, right? Because people are spending. But these CEOs don't give a fuck, right? And
don't you think it'd be wrong to force them, though? I mean, because me, that's where I draw the line. I can't because I would be upset if I had like a restaurant that I employed 5 people.
Yeah.
And then I was like, man, I really don't need 5. Unfortunately, I only need 4. So I'm going to have to get rid of 1.
So here's the thing.
Somebody said, hey, you have to keep that 5. I'd be pissed.
When you give Cerner $32 million in Kansas and you say, okay, we're going to give you the $32 million to build that building, but you're going to have to keep these jobs because we're going to make our money back.
Was that in the contract?
That was in the contract.
Okay. How did they get out of that contract?
Corrupt politicians. So that's how they got out of it, and that's how they get out of it, right? So
what do they do? Just let the company fall and just bankrupt the LLC and just head out, or how do they?
No. So basically, what happened with the negotiations when the big merger happened? First and foremost, it wasn't supposed to be able to happen unless they met that contract, the terms of the contract, which was 7 years, and you stay in town, you keep those jobs because we're going to make our $32 million back and then some. And it helps the Kansas City area, right? And so basically what they said, fuck the federal law. We're going to go ahead and let you go ahead and leave. And then, so long as you put some money in my pocket, I really don't give a fuck, right? Yeah. Fuck all those 1,300 people. And so I was the lucky one to have known that this shit was coming, right? Not even my bosses or my employee. And I couldn't really talk about it because what am I going to say to people? Hey, there's the government there's a government website you can look at, and they're getting ready to gut our jobs more than likely because there's going to be a merger, right? And so and that's what usually happens when there's mergers, right? And so that's not supposed to be able to happen unless they meet that contract.
You should have just fucking sent a mass email, CC'd everybody, and then just walked out and fucking flipping everybody, and then just headed out, bro. Everyone, hey, you're about to lose your job. Bye.
Yeah, no, I definitely chalked my bosses for sure. I mean, just I don't know who walks away from that. I had the perfect setup, right?
Well, why don't they give the money out and maybe they do. I don't know all the ramifications when it comes to the contract negotiations, but like what are the contract details? Why don't they just give it trickle the money? That way they just don't get this money and just fucking take off, or do they, or how does that go? Do you know it all? I don't know.
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Like when they give this $32 million in taxpayer dollars, why don't they give this to them in throughout the however many years they're liable or supposed to stay here,
right,
and employ people? Why don't they trickle that money out so they just don't make off with it? Or maybe they did. I don't know.
So, the building alone cost $32 million to build. So that's the reason why.
And so we funded that with all taxpayer
all
dollars.
Taxpayer money. All taxpayer money.
That's fucking crazy. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's such a gamble.
That was one building. Cerner had what?
North Kansas City.
Yeah, that's where I was
Bannister.
at. Yeah, Bannister.
Legends.
They also owned the old casino, the old Ameristar. They actually owned that too.
Really?
So down the road from Ameristar, there's another casino that's not really known, or it's all dark now. It's an old casino. They actually own that building too. They use that building for training purposes. And
there's an old casino.
Yeah, there's an old casino. So
really?
right down the road from Ameristar is the old Ameristar.
What was it called? Do you remember?
I believe it's whatever it was before Ameristar. I forget the name.
Okay. I don't remember. I don't go to much casinos.
Yeah. So whatever the name was, but yeah, that's where they used for training. So all of these buildings were owned by Cerner, and if I'm not mistaken, they also owned part of Sporting Kansas City. I could be wrong on that, but so all of these incentives, they pretty much fucked the American people, right? The people of Kansas City, and said, screw you, and we're out. And so, and that's the same thing with the Royal Stadium that I'm talking about now. We're giving them a $2 billion blank check, and say, okay, here.
And that's not the cap. It could be more. From what they were saying, it could possibly go.
Yeah, it could possibly be more, right?
Yeah.
And it is going to be more because of interest rates and all these other things, right? They're going to have to come up with the money, so they're going to raise property taxes, like I said earlier. And so I lost my thought process here.
No. We're talking about basically that the subsidies are given. They're required to employ these people. They don't. Same thing as the stadiums. Is that they're going to be given these subsidies to move down to these areas to sorry, my
you're good.
To bring these jobs, but ultimately it's like, what's going to actually happen though once they get to these areas? Property taxes are going to hike for some people. They're going to push people out, and all for what? If an owner of a company wants to move their shit, then let them move it. That's plain and simple to me. It's like, why does government always have to get involved in this? I understand the thought is looked at as being compassionate for your citizens of your city, because they're like, hey, we want to bring you employment, so we're going to give them this. But how many times do we have to see that it doesn't work out? So
the biggest thing for the Royals, for example, is that they're claiming that there's more money that there's going to be made than what we're going to have to dish out as taxpayers. But that's a complete lie, right? I mean, first and foremost, we're almost done paying the current mortgage of 35 years. After those we're 5 years away from paying off the current mortgage on the current stadium, the current Royal Stadium, right? So the taxpayers are due a big break. And so they were spreading propaganda that your taxes weren't going to go up, right? Because technically they're not. You're just going to continue pay for another 40 years, another mortgage.
Yeah.
Right? So technically they're correct.
That was the first lie that I'd seen Manny say on one of the podcasts. He's like, your taxes are not going to go up.
Yes,
exactly. And I was like, hold on, but I'm reading something else. What are you talking about?
Yeah. So not only Manny, but all of the media was saying the same thing, right? And so...
Dude, they sent me a postcard in the mail and it said like, don't let liberals take your stadium or some shit. I was like, what the fuck? What is this? What is this turned into, man?
These are
that's the corruption that you're discussing though in media. It's fucking wild, dude.
It's insane, brother. And the Royals are worth $1.2 billion. The owner is a billionaire, and they want $2 billion from you, the taxpayer. It's incredible, right? And so the propaganda that was spread is unbelievable, and it's going to cause a lot of homelessness, I think.
And would it bring people more to the city to watch the Chiefs? Yeah, while they're winning. But I haven't watched a game. I don't watch football as much as I used to. I enjoy it. I think it's fun. I think it's good to hang out with people and watch it and have that camaraderie. But like, I just think that you banking on the Chiefs being this dynasty of a team for the next 5 more years is kind of unrealistic, Yeah. And so if we were to move, or even the Royals, because I think the Royals is more of the ones that are going downtown. But if they were to even go, it's like, you got to hope that they're going to be able to sell tickets,
Yeah.
And yeah, I understand, like when Casey was on, I understand the thought on it. It's like, stadium downtown, it's going to have that allure to it, that everyone's going to come see, and there's your downtown vibes. I get that. Downtown's fun. But like, we have to think a little more critically about this, you know, and see the long term, because
Exactly.
then we're just doing what I said earlier, kicking the can down the road for us to deal with later on.
Right.
You know?
So the Kansas City Royals are banking on a downtown stadium because they want to increase attendance. Right. They're having trouble with attendance, and so it'll increase it for the, you know, studies have shown a couple years maybe.
Right. Because it's new.
And then it dies down.
It's like a new restaurant that pops
Right.
up. It's the big hottest thing, and then 5 years, it's like, oh damn, they closed their doors.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, and that's because a lot of people really can't afford the $40 parking.
Oh yeah, the parking would be a nightmare.
$20 beer, whatever it is now.
Yeah.
And so it's out of control, right? And so to fund a bunch of grown men in tights playing a kids game it's not necessarily the best thing for our people. And I hate to talk bad about the Royals, but that's essentially what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm at the point where I'm fucking tired of it,
Yeah.
right? I mean, the propaganda that they're spreading. On the current mortgage right now, the Kansas City Journal had said that we're not only paying for their employees, their stadium, the maintenance, we're also giving them an additional $6 million a year in extra taxpayer money just because, right? Currently, from the current deal. Right. So this is complete corruption, right? This is money that should be going to schools. This is money that should be going to our roads. If you drive in Kansas City, Missouri, you know how bad the fucking potholes are. You know,
and the only reason they're fixing them is because the fucking World Cup is coming. So remember that. Yeah,
that's exactly right. We want to put up a front of America's
homelessness is going to
grade
go down too during that year as well. They're going to do, because Wes came on and told me that Lucas was fucking picking up homeless people and dropping them in different towns. He said they dropped a bunch in North Kansas City at a hotel behind the McDonald's back there on Armour Road.
So some years back when the homeless decided to get together, and we have 100
allegedly. Hold on, let me throw that in. Alleged. Don't sue me.
No, it happened. It happened, and I'll explain about that.
Okay,
I'll get into that. So we have approximately 186 different homeless campsites in the Kansas City metro area. 186 different campsites, right? This doesn't mean 186 homeless people. I'm talking about campsites of a lot of people.
Right.
And that doesn't include the homeless people that live in extended stays. Extended stays are full of people. And those are also homeless people that are living week to week. Some weeks they could afford to stay in a hotel. Some weeks they can't, right? And so it's a huge, huge problem. And 1 year, I believe this was 2 years ago, they decided to protest. And what did they do? They said, we're going to be seen. We're going to put ourselves in public so that they can see how big the homeless problem is. There's families, there's kids, there's people that are working that are out there homeless. They posted up downtown in the downtown buildings. They also posted up in the Westport area, right outside where everybody could see them, right? And so what did the mayor do? Because it was a big nuisance. Everybody could now see there was homeless people outside of downtown.
It's no longer in the woods and
right. They're no longer out of mind, out of sight or mind.
What the hell? Sorry.
And so what happened? What happened when that started to happen? It became a nuisance to Mayor Lucas, right? It became a big problem because, oh, wow, I have to deal with this now because it's here. It's in my doorsteps. It's outside. They're protesting. He gave, and to your point, he gave vouchers for a month so that they can stay in a hotel, made a bunch of promises, and then started construction in front of City Hall, fencing all around City Hall. And I believe that fence is still there, if I'm not mistaken, but it was up for about a year or 2 years or something like that. And I could be wrong, but it could still be there. So they just started to remodel, fence it all up, and say no one can come in here no more. If you want to go into downtown, you have to go through the other side, and there's no space there for homeless to be and stuff like that. So they got rid of them, put them up in a hotel, and forget and just wiped his hands clean. And so that's not a solution to homelessness, right? That's a Band-Aid to the problem that we have.
So if it's not, why do you think that people keep still wanting the government to change? It's like, this is my issue with it, because when it comes to homelessness, it's like, yeah, do I care for these people? And depending on who it is, I'm not going to say all homeless people are just good Samaritans that are on hard luck. There's definitely backstories to all of them. There's people that are lazy. There's people that are fucking drug ridden. There's people that are victims of sexual abuse. There's people that are trying, like I said, I said that first, economically impacted. So it's you're never going to know who's telling the truth, whose story is what. But it's like, I think my issue with it is like, you keep going to the same government that's not helping you, that has continued to show you that it's not going to help you, and it's just going to slap a Band-Aid or a voucher and then tell you to scram. So why do we keep trying to force the government to fix that issue when they're not?
Well, government is supposed to work for the people. They're supposed to create jobs that are going to be. They're supposed to approve affordable housing. They're supposed to have all these things in place for these people, right? You don't see homelessness in Mexico. That's pretty much almost non-existent, right?
All over Mexico,
you see indigenous people that are out there asking for money, but those their husbands usually have jobs and stuff like that. These people are usually taking advantage of tourists, right, that aren't aware of what's happening. But these are indigenous people. They don't even speak Spanish. They have their own language, right?
Well, then why is there such a mass influx of immigrants coming to the United States?
Well, our dollar's still strong, right? And so if you're a poor person,
opportunity, then.
Right. So if you're a poor person in another country, you want to come and make a little bit of money, go back to your country, build a business, build a home, and never have to step foot again here, right? I got asked a question the other day, which was a really, really good question. She said to me, so why is it that that immigrants seem to thrive, right? And we'll get here into the next immigration, to the next topic. So she said, why is it that immigrants thrive in America and Americans are struggling, right? And my answer was this. They're not a part of this American system. So what do I mean by that? So our system is designed to fail all of us, right? Most kids, most people have bad credit. Most people, their parents had to use their kids so that they can apply for an apartment because their credit is shit, and so you get immigrants that come into the country, right, that don't have credit, but they don't have bad credit. They're all staying together in a house, right? It's 10, 20, whatever it is, right, in a house. They're all cash rich because they're getting paid cash because we keep them illegal, right? We bring them into the country, we keep them illegal, so they're not a part of the tax system. They're getting paid in cash, so they get a bunch of cash, right? They gather the cash together, they help each other out, and they're able to go to the bank and say, I don't have credit, but I have cash, and I don't have bad credit, and so all these businesses that are in bad neighborhoods typically are abandoned. They're just there. Just anyone could probably pay the taxes on it, and it's yours, right? There's a bunch of a building,
like land bank owned homes type shit.
Basically, yeah. So they take advantage of that system, and they're able to succeed. They help each other out. Versus us Americans, right? We don't typically live in groups. We don't typically. A lot of Americans typically have really bad credit, and so that's the big difference. Yeah.
No, I completely agree. The only thing I would say is that, one, I think speaking in generalization again, surely there's homeless in Mexico. So we probably got to say that. There's got to be homeless in Mexico, or else there wouldn't be such an influx of people coming over from those countries. Mexico, Central America. Granted, yeah, like you said, the dollar is worth more. I don't know if it's worth too much more. You may know more than I do. Some of the people I know that live there that have spoken to me, it depends, I think, on what you purchase. Is kind of like clothes and stuff down there is almost comparable in price. I think name brand stuff. Yeah. But I don't know how much it is off the peso to the US dollar. But I don't know if you know.
Yeah. So Mexico's growing. They're right now number one in unemployment. 2.4%, I believe, of the people are unemployed. Only 2.4%, right? They're number one by far. So it's a thriving economy. booming. If you ever go to Mexico, especially, forget the border cities. The border cities are horrible.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go in the middle of Mexico, down south of Mexico, the malls, they're opening malls left and right, huge malls.
Oh, so it's almost like America. There's pockets where it's booming and there's pockets where it's suffering. Yeah.
And so companies are starting to pay in dollar. People are flocking to Mexico like never before. Mm-hmm. The amount of people that applied for Mexican citizenship, it's unbelievable, right? Mm-hmm. And there was big protests 3 months ago where the Mexican people were really upset because
I've seen that, yeah.
there was too many Americans going down there. It was too many. Everybody wants a piece of what's coming, right? Which
is almost the same argument that America has for immigrants coming over to America.
There's a big difference. There's a difference. So there's a big difference for various reasons, right? Mm-hmm. First and foremost, to understand immigration, you have to understand the history of it, right? So what happened when around the time we ended slavery, we started a program called the Bracero program, which my family was a part of. So basically, they would bring Mexicans over from Mexico, because it was mostly Mexicans at that time. It was all Mexicans at that time at first. To work the fields, and these were people that they would line up, have them get butt naked, spraying with a bunch of chemicals, and stuff.
I've heard about that. I had Gene Chavez on, and he discussed the railroads and kind of the history of Kansas City and Mexicans that worked on the railroads and kind of how they were treated and stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was they got reparations some years back and stuff like that. But
they did.
So yeah. And so my grandparents, I don't really know the history or anything like that, but I believe they were part of that, just because I had family members that were field workers and stuff like that, and it was normal for them to cross over, make a little bit of money and go back to Mexico and build a home and stuff like that, especially if you were from a really poor family, right? You did that, but only if you were really poor back in those days. So that's how we started to bring over immigrants, right? We started to bring them over. So what happened during that stretch of time? What happened was that I lost my thought.
No, you're good. No, we're just talking about you said there's vast differences between immigrants coming over to America and immigrants going into Mexico.
Right. And so
American immigrants.
So what happened during the time that we had the Bracero program, America started committing a lot of coups all over South America, 156 different coups, I believe, or something along those lines, where we started destabilizing a lot of these countries. All over South America, we started putting in a government that benefited us and our American companies. So, for example, in Guatemala was one that I like to use, because in Guatemala, it was so brazen. I mean, they basically went in there, took out their government. We put in a dictator, and then we took over the banana plantations and gave it to a private company.
Yeah, I heard about
this. So what happens when you do that is you destabilize that country. So those people then are now forced to, there's nothing else to live off of. And so those people are forced to migrate to different countries. And so, of course, you're going to have immigrants, right? When you're destabilizing countries all over South America and all over the world, really, because we've bombed so many different countries, that creates immigrants. That creates this destabilization.
We like regime changes. That's what we like.
Yeah. And so that's the problem. And so it's important to know that when you're talking about immigration, because if we don't stop doing that to other countries, we're going to continue to have an immigrant problem in America. Because trust me when I tell you, people don't want to leave their countries. That's not a thing that they're eager to leave home, right? A lot of these people live near some of the most beautiful beaches in the world, right? There's no such thing as drilling on their seashores like we do here in Texas and other countries, and some of these beaches are just horrible. with the exception of Florida. But and so these people don't want to actually leave their homes. But that's important to know. But another issue with immigration is that we were having a major labor shortage in America, and that happened during Trump's first administration. So what happens is that when you stop growing as a country, when people stop having kids, when you're no longer, it's unaffordable to have kids, which is the problem we're having in America. What happens? The economy slows down. There was a major labor shortage, and if you remember Donald Trump's first administration, his big plan to help with this labor shortage was to, okay, let's let kids come into the country, right? Everybody remembers the kids that were locked up at the border. He allowed kids to come into the country. They lowered the working age on some of these factories. There was 2 deaths, one in Nebraska and one in Iowa, I believe, because
what did they lower it to?
Some states lowered it to 12. I've heard rumors that up to 8.
Well, I got a couple of union buddies that have talked to me about states wanting to lower the working age. I didn't know it actually went through. So this was some years back.
It happened in a lot of states, right? And they got away with it some years back. The Trump administration. So these kids were working dangerous jobs where literally there was a couple kids that passed away because of these dangerous jobs that they were working. That was the big plan for Donald Trump. We don't want immigrants, but we'll take the kids and we'll train them to be our way, and we'll have them work. And, that was his big plan, right? Because Trump wants immigrants. He just doesn't want Hispanic immigrants. He brought over Ukrainians. He brought over whites from South Africa. So he wants immigrants. He knows that we need them.
Not only that, the SB1.
To grow the economy.
A lot of the companies are taking advantage of those SB1 visas. I think that's what they're called, where they're bringing in people from India and all these places to be able to fill some of these engineering and all these different type of tech jobs because they can pay them cheaper. That's my issue with immigration we agree. Yeah. The right says that they don't want it. And granted, they did a better job at definitely locking borders down. Apparently there's people going back now. There's not as many crossing. At least that's from stats. I mean, we all know stats can be flawed, but it seems like it's working. But then again, it's like you're saying that, but yet you're using all these work program visas to bring in people in order to pay them cheaper.
Yeah, and that's exactly true. So
you're seeing it from both sides here.
Right.
So it's
not only do they pay him cheaper,
but we got 1 million able-bodied Americans that are on welfare. So why don't what are we doing?
Not only do they pay them cheaper, they work them to death. I mean, they're working 12, 15 hours and they don't complain, right? Because they live in a country where it's third world pretty much. I mean,
that's why I hate when they say Americans are lazy. There are Americans that are lazy. But you can't say that Americans won't do these jobs. Like, I always use this, and I think I can't remember where I heard this from, whatever podcast I listened to. It's like we had a show that was on air for like over 10 years called Dirty Jobs. Yeah. There's Americans that do these jobs. Oh, yeah. It's the fact that you don't want to pay American wages. You'd rather pay immigrant wages, whether it be through visa or illegal. Yeah.
I always said that American people are the hardest working people in the world. And they really are. I mean, a lot of people are working 60, 70, 80 hours a week. Yeah. I see it all the time.
That's what companies do. They promote that. We have overtime. I don't want to fucking work overtime. I just want to get paid something, decent for my time, not incentivize me by going, we only pay 25, 21, 30, whatever it is, but we got a limited overtime. It's like that. and then we get upset about the youth and how crazy they are, and they're not being Well, their parents are working fucking 60 hours a week. They're not at home like they used to be. So that one issue starts causing other issues. You know what I mean? I'm not saying, I'm not telling companies they need to pay this, need to pay that. I'm not forcing anything. Yeah. making a suggestion though. If you want better workers, if you want people to be more involved in the company or more reliable, you need to pay them more. Get out of that whole mindset of, well, paying them more ain't going to fix nothing. I hear that shit all the time. It drives me nuts. It's like, oh, really? Then why do you get 150 grand a year? You know,
Yeah.
You do your job to the fucking T because you're getting compensated very well.
I've always said, a lot of CEOs don't realize that if you don't pay your employees enough to be able to buy the product that they're making, a lot of, car companies and stuff like that, how do you expect your company to grow? I mean, this is the American people, right? This is the people that are living in your country building this product. And so if you don't pay them enough, of course, they're not going to have enough to even afford that. So your company's going to suffer.
Or they complain about turnover.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, God, nobody wants to work. We have such high turnover. Well, maybe in my case, I have to leave every couple of years because I'm trying to get a little bit more money because I can't live off of a 3% raise once a year.
Yeah.
I can't live off of no bonuses are non-existent. Majority of places, at least in manufacturing, majority of the places you go to, it's like, I was making this comment. Today was actually my last day at the job I'm at now. They pulled up some fucking blow up. I thought it was a bouncy house at first. I was like, oh my God. And like a dunk thing and a food truck and all this shit. And, a lot of the guys at the shop would be like, hey man, you ready for the picnic shit outside? I'm like, no. I don't care. I was like, I'll use this as an example. I go out there and I have the time of my life and all giddy with all you guys. And then I have to go home to my family and I go, how was your day at work? Did you get that bonus you were working hard for, to help out with Christmas and whatever it may be? No, but they gave us pizza.
Yeah.
And they bought us a fucking bouncy house and we had a great time bonding. It's like, come on.
And the company got a tax write-off for it. And so
yeah, exactly. I use that one too. Exactly. My buddy Bo said when we were texting about it, I sent him a picture and I was like, look what the fuck our bonus was this year. He goes, yeah, it's weird. It's almost like we're indoctrinated through the public school system to where, where they have pizza parties and you have perfect attendance and good grades.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's almost that nostalgic feeling as adults. It's like, we're almost programmed that way to just take it and enjoy it.
It's so fucking unbelievable.
Yeah.
I talked to one guy a couple weeks ago, and he was telling me that not only that they want him to work overtime, it was mandatory overtime, 7 days a week, sometimes 16 hours a day. This is happening in America. Yeah. This is happening in Kansas City. Yeah. And so it's unbelievable. So no wonder why people quit, right?
But where is the government at?
That's what
I'm speaking from your side because I necessarily don't believe the government should be involved, but I know you do. And I respect that. I respect your thoughts on it. My thing is that government's going to continue to fail us. So why do we keep entrusting in them? Instead, we need to change our mindset. Yeah. And I know this is very difficult. I'm not saying this is going to be easy. It's almost like unions. Mm-hmm. Unions are fucking great. They also have some bad too. You know what I mean? But I see a lot of benefits from them unionizing. I see that they're able to get their employees more money, better benefits, more job security. Those things are great. And the unfortunate part is they have to play in the politics game. We all know unions, they back Democrats because of Democrats are the ones out there giving them the jobs, these government jobs that they solely rely on for income. It's hard out there in the private sector because anybody can grab a van and jump in there and 3 guys can go do tile and they don't have to pay a union guy $40 an hour, whatever it may be. So I see that. I'm not necessarily saying we have to do that, but as people in a company, you need to start coming together. They're trying to separate everybody. They're trying to get everyone distracted into these fucking phones, which I'm guilty of it as well. Yeah, They're trying to get us to be, like you said, we don't live in communities anymore where we want our kids to stay longer till they're 30 years old to give them a more better path forward. Like a lot of the immigrants do when they come over here. They're more family oriented. They're more together and more community supportive. The government is breaking that down. That way they can take advantage of you. So as workers, if we see that and we come together with one another and we sort of unionize in a way and ask for these demands and be rational, because that's the other problem is that every time this happens, it's like they fuck it up by wanting more and more and more. You get kind of that power hungry trip, you know. We see the same thing in government. So we have to be careful of those things, you know, come up with a good plan, come up with a good demands that's going to accommodate everybody that you feel is just on both sides. We can't just fuck the CEOs. We're going to take it off. You can't have that mindset. There has to be a balance because you both need each other.
Right.
We need the CEOs of these companies and we need the workers. They have to work hand in hand. But I think if people were to ever alter their thought process on those things and see that the power does lie in the people, come together and to create these demands, I think that we could change a lot of things. But so we don't.
I think the problem with that is that even the mention of a union will get you fired. I mean, even the mention of getting people together and you're out the door.
Are you gonna do that shit behind closed doors then, man?
Yeah.
You guys need to all get each other's numbers and start, you know what I mean? And granted, there might be a mole in the group that rat you out.
That's the problem. Yeah, they actually
but that's
do
where the
put moles
unity
in
comes. That's where y'all walk out together. And I know that's hard right now because our fucking dollar is not as fucking worth as I'm seeing it, man. I get paid pretty good money. I live in a decent area and it's like, I'm having a hard time, and I shouldn't be at my age and what I'm doing, the trade I'm in.
Right.
I shouldn't be, but unfortunately, stems back to the same place: government fucking everything up for us.
And I believe that we're at the beginning of what's to come, and I'm very scared of that because I've talked to several financial analysts who know their stuff, right? And I know a little bit of that myself, but you know, and they're predicting that the dollar is going to continue to fall and eventually collapse, right? Mm-hmm. We don't have nothing backing the U.S. dollar. You know,
since fiat cards.
So back when Truman made a deal with the Saudis to give them protection, and they would sell their oil at the U.S. dollar price. Nixon. What was happening during the 60s when we were at war with Vietnam, we were in a financial crisis in America. Gas prices were through the roof. And Nixon did something that changed the history of the world, essentially, because he made a deal with the Saudis to where they would sell it at the American dollar, which the American dollar just never destabilized, right? It never, and so we were able to grow as a country like no one else, right? That's no longer the case. Countries are doing away with buying oil with U.S. dollars. We're seeing Russia, China, India, all these countries are getting Brazil. They're getting together and they're saying, we no longer want to buy with the U.S. dollar. We no longer trust the U.S. dollar or a government. And so if that continues to happen and more countries aligned, and we saw it, we saw it in the past with other countries who tried to do the same thing, and we took them out of power, bombed their countries. And Libya was a perfect example. And I forget the name of the president. But they had a thriving economy, beautiful cities and stuff like that. And they said, we're going to do away with the U.S. dollar. We're no longer going to sell our oil at the U.S. dollar price. We're going to sell it within our currency so that we could grow our country, right? And we said, no, you're not going to do that. In fact, we're going to blow you up. We're going to kill you, and we're going to set our own government in place. And that's exactly what happened. But when you have big countries like China and Russia saying, we're not afraid of you and we're going to do it anyways, that's a big problem for our country. If our dollar collapses, I don't know anybody that's going to want to live in America. That's the sad reality of what could happen to us in America, right?
I think we would adapt. Surely you'd see mass casualties. You would. And, you know, the government has had us on basically the tit for the last fucking, I don't know, like we said, since, you know, let's just throw out a number here, 60 years, 70 years. I mean, we've been so heavily reliant on them. I think we would adapt, but you would see a very dark dark fucking side of America for a long, well, I would, probably for a long time, and the good thing about human beings is that, we do adapt and we figure things out. But yeah, it would be ugly, man. And people need to realize that this is a real thing. This isn't just another YouTube video that's trying to scare the shit out of you. The end is coming near.
Right.
That's real. It could possibly happen, whether it be in the next 5 years, the next 10 years. We just talked about this. It's going to happen when you have a national debt that's $38 trillion,
Yep.
and you're continuing to raise that ceiling and not address the issue. This is no different than your friend that's got a good credit score and $100,000 in credit cards, and he's just racking it up. It's gonna catch up to you at some point.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's the truth. And it's a sad reality, right? We don't want to see our country go downhill. We all live here. Mm-hmm. I love America. I love this country. I'm born and raised here. Mm-hmm. But you have to start looking elsewhere and saying, if this continues, mm-hmm. how long can I keep my family here? Because the sad reality of what's happening, it's very unfortunate.
Leo, though, I feel like a lot of people are waking up to that, though, don't you think? I think we're all gravitated to hot topics, whether it be abortion, whether it be immigration, whether it be whatever the usual topics that tend to divide gun rights, gun violence, like these are always the topics that kind of distract us. Right. You know what I mean? And from the grander picture, I always tell everyone, I know they want to label me a fiscal hawk, but Thomas Massey's not lying. He wears that debt fucking
and he's
thing
a Republican.
On it.
Right?
Yeah, and he's a Republican.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, libertarians have to go through the Republican route in order to get a fucking
seat. I believe with
because I look at him more libertarian.
That's the one Republican that I actually agree with some of his stuff.
Well, Ron Paul too, I'm sure. Rand Paul, figures like that. But.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Ron Paul, but yeah,
Ron Paul, you're not a fan.
Massey is.
What?
I get it, right? If you're a libertarian, Ron Paul is for you, right?
What has he ever been against? He's just more for more power and independence to the people and less government. I mean, that's kind of an overall, consensus.
But I do believe in government. If you don't have government, you don't have a society.
He's not preaching government. Yeah. He's preaching small government. We have to realize that big government is an issue. If anything that rises to, we just talked a lot of shit about CEOs and how much money they make and how big they are.
Here's why a lot of Republicans scream big government and they don't like it. Government.
I would argue and say Republicans don't. I think they say that, but they're not about that. They keep voting in the same party that's just as big.
So the reason Republicans a lot of the times yell big government, oh, you should be scared of big government, is because they're essentially protecting the corporations that fund them, that put them in office in the first place. So what do I mean by that? So the Republican Party doesn't want regulations on these companies, right? They want to be able to dump whatever in our rivers. They want to be able to cut all the trees from our national parks. They want to be able to do whatever the fuck they want to do, essentially, right? So they don't like big government, right? They don't want a government to regulate them, and that's why a lot of these guys scream big government.
But we should have those. We should have already in place the protection. Because I'm not for even being libertarian. I know people that hear libertarians are like, "Oh God, you don't care if they dump shit in the oceans." That falls under the same things that I've been saying. The government's sole job to protect its people and their property. Right. Okay, if you're dumping chemicals into a river that's going to affect people downstream, or the wildlife that they fish for or whatever it may be, that's going against one of those things. So those two things can cover it broadly. And, I get it. I understand there are going to be Republicans that do want that. But I think overall, I'm sure a lot of them don't want that. I mean, a lot of Republicans hunt. A lot of Republicans, don't want companies to just be able to not give them PPE or just dump shit in their water or in their neighborhoods, I think they're just blinded by the fact of the empty promises of their party. The same thing
Right.
Democrats deal with,
Right.
and also, like we talked in the beginning, regulations. There's good regulations and then there's over regulations.
Right.
So what's kind of the happy medium in that? Can there be? Because it's almost like when you're working and you're at work, you're working on the floor and you're always kind of monitoring what the office people are doing. Then this is just, I'm not saying this happens everywhere, but you ever get that feeling almost, and this has always been topics I've always heard and seen myself. It's almost like they have too much time on their hands and they always find some way to make shit worse, either it be a new policy for work or just the over macromanagement. Yeah, you know what I mean? And so you see that and you're almost like, God damn, you're almost in your own way. That's kind of what I see with government most of the time. It's like it's almost if there's too many of them and they're always trying to find some way to get in front of the camera. Like a guy on here was telling me the other day, Blake, he was like, politics is that old saying. It's Hollywood for ugly people. It feels like that sometimes because Mayor Lucas, look at him. Look at all the fumbles he drops, for the city. And what is always the accusation they make about him? Well, he doesn't care. He's just trying to get up to Washington, D.C. That's his focus. So it's like, I understand we need people to be able to implement these things, to be able to protect people. But it's almost like as if we have too many and this is too big and they're losing sight. Would it be great if we had a huge government and they were solely trying to just stick to these things that are helping benefit the American people? Yeah. But when have we seen that?
So I'm going to say something that's here. A politician will always say and do the right things when it's an election year for them.
Right.
They will always do that when it's an election year.
Oh, yeah.
All the other years, they fuck the American people. They fuck the people, their constituents, 24/7. Mm-hmm. When it's an election cycle for them, they'll say and do all the right things, and media will cover for them.
Agreed.
And people have a short memory.
Yeah,
very short memory. Typically, the people who vote are elderly people, are older people, right? So, when you're putting out, millions of dollars worth of commercials and these older people who are watching TV, The Price is Right, whatever, they're retired. They're just watching TV all day. They're seeing these commercials all day and they are convinced that this
surface level information,
their side, whatever side you watch, whether it's Democrats or Republicans, they believe what they're listening to, right? Because it's all propaganda from both sides, and so they come out to the voting booths and they vote. If you've ever tried talking to elderly people in a lot of these facilities where they live, I forget, elderly facilities. I don't
like an old folks home.
Yeah, there you go.
Retirement home. Yeah.
You can't do it. They're restricted only to certain politicians who pay to speak to these people. That's how important these elderly people are.
Yeah, Wes was telling me that what he's seen with the city council members is that some of them would go visit those old folks' homes and talk to them and kind of persuade. Which I get it. That's what you kind of have to do. I get you got to go out and door knock and talk with people. But I don't know, man. Sometimes it's like, why are you specifically targeting old people?
Yeah. They target them because
you can't teach an old dog new tricks, man. I know what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, they target
How much
them.
research are they going to do?
Right. They don't do the research, right?
Yeah.
They don't watch internet.
But we see it from the young.
They
too.
have.
I know a lot of young people that don't do their research. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's true. You're
right.
But so these people come out and vote, and they vote. They're consistent, right? Mm-hmm. So they're very, very important. I would say that if you have, an elderly, a grandma or grandpa, whatever, I would say to speak with them, right? Tell them the importance of looking up and seeing, because a lot of these elderly people are taken advantage of. And I would see it when I worked in banking a lot of years back. They would call and complain and say, hey, I donated to this politician. Now every single month they're withdrawing from my account.
Yeah.
What's happening? I didn't sign up for this.
So you don't understand auto pay?
Yeah. And so, yeah. And they're taking advantage because they use them for to fund their campaigns and stuff like that. But yeah, so our elderly people are definitely getting taken advantage of. And so I think it's our responsibility to speak with them because, when it comes to politics, they're definitely brainwashed, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I get it. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's hard to, this is just a messy deal, man. I just don't, dude, I feel like, it's like I get glimpse of hope. I get let down. I get glimpse of hope. I get let down. And I don't know, right now, man, I'm just kind of to the point to where I don't really see much hope in sight. And I hate to be like that. I don't want to be that black-pilled individual where, I'm all doom and gloom and fucking whatever they want to call, whatever name they want to associate with me, where you just gave up. It's like, well, yeah, man, I'm 33 years old and I'm just seeing the same shit over and over. And not even only that, now I'm going back and listening to people talk about former presidents. And when I was growing up, when you're little, you're looking up to these people like, yeah, they got it all together. They're figuring shit out. And now you're just seeing the dumb shit they were doing that entire time. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like even, going through like, I never understood when we were talking about our Israel relationship and, going through the details of that. And now seeing how in bed our government is with that country is fucking insane. And not only that, dude, I'm glad you brought this up too, because I've talked about it here and there on my podcast as well with people. But like, and there are a lot more people that are waking up to it. But some of the people I talk to, man, and they're just like, well, I mean, as a Christian, and I'm like, whoop. Park the brakes. What are you talking? You about to go into judo Christian, or what do they call it? Judeo-Christian or whatever. Yeah. It's some shit that's fucking made up, and that you think that because in the Bible it says this, that you're supposed to protect. Dude, go talk to an actual priest or go talk to somebody who actually reads the Bible, and they will correct you on all these things that you're listening to on Fox News. But like, I always give them this. I always try to give a different example, right, to try to pull them away from this. I'm like, why are you okay with Israel? Would you be okay if we were sending this amount of money to Mexico if they were fighting Guatemala? You know what I mean? Like, would it be the same shit? No, you'd be fucking pissed. You'd be livid, So why is this okay with Israel? Is it because the vast amounts of propaganda that you've been consuming and that these leaders that you blindly fucking and not all of them. Blake Wharton, who's been on the show, Republican, used to be Libertarian, full Republican now. I've watched him on his X account go at Republicans, telling them, hey guys, what the fuck are we doing? Yeah. We're supposed to be America first, and we're supporting another fucking nation. Yeah. That's what, because the Islamic extremists are going to come fucking after us. Like you just said, who the fuck is going to come after us, man? One nuclear sub, man. I remember Ron Paul reading this, that he had said, he's like, one nuclear sub could take out like most fucking threats to America. Not saying that I want any potential threats to be sent our way, and not saying that there isn't Islamic extremists. There's extremists in anything. Okay. Right. But if you continue to fund a country that's continually bombing all of these countries, what was it? I can't remember who said the 5 countries in 7 years or whatever from back in the day, that Israel pretty much, that was their plan since 9/11, pretty much. Right. And they have achieved that fucking plan of bombing all these fucking countries. Yeah. I just don't understand how people can't see, hey, you can't fight terrorism. You're going just to create more terrorism. You can defend yourself, but let's sit back and see what is creating these terrorists. Right. Not saying there aren't people that are taking advantage of the situation that are evil people. There certainly are. But when I debate people on the whole Hamas and Israel conflict, and they're like, well, are you a Hamas supporter? No, I'm not saying I support a terrorist organization, but I would also like to rebuttal and say, what made them a terrorist? Right. Is it the fact that they probably, some of them, not going to say all of them, because there's probably some bad people in there, but maybe one guy, 5 guys, 20 guys had to see their fucking apartment building carpet bombed and their whole family taken out, and now they want to pick up a rifle and go shoot any fucking Israel person they see? Could that be a reason why this is happening? Like, what are we doing?
So if we really wanted to kill terrorists, we have the badass Navy SEALs. Yeah. We send out the Navy SEAls. Not
even Navy SEAls, bro. We got multiple different units.
Exactly.
That will strategically go in there. Literally, that's their sole mission, is to be dropped into a war zone and eliminate threats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't bomb a whole country because there's terrorists, right?
Yeah.
You
We
go
sent
after
leaflets,
the
though.
fucking terrorists and you fucking you fucking kill them,
Yeah.
right? So that's never been the goal of our country, and that goes back to Iraq, Afghanistan,
Yep.
and all these other wars, right? We never really wanted to go after terrorists. It was never about terrorism.
That was the propaganda.
Right. And so so that's always been a big lie, that we're going after terrorists, right? And it was meant to scare the American people to be okay with us bombing other countries, right? And so as far as Israel is extremely powerful.
Mm-hmm.
They have complete control of our government. There was a government official about a month ago in Las Vegas, of all places. He was caught online trying to molest a 15-year-old girl.
Yeah, in Vegas.
Oh, actually, he molested her, I believe, if I'm not correct. Or oh no, he was trying to. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think he was trying to meet up with her.
Right. Yeah, he was trying to meet up. Yeah, you're right. Right.
Yeah.
And so what happened? The very next day, he was on a plane to Israel.
Yeah, they all get that.
Dropped all the charges.
Yeah.
They all get that.
They all get that. And then a lot of them don't even serve prison time over there. They're let go.
They're that powerful.
Yeah.
You know, and when you talk about the
because
Epstein,
this is a thing that, and hey, I'm probably going to get flack for this, but look into it. And I'm not saying this is all Jewish people.
Right.
I'm not at all.
Yeah.
But there are Jewish people who will look at you as goy. And a goy is a term of basically a lesser being. You are not a human being to them. Okay.
Yeah.
I understand. There's a lot of people that talk about this, and granted, I don't believe whatever all of them. I listen to Dave Smith when it comes to this stuff. I've listened to Nick Fuentes talk about this stuff. I've listened to a lot of these different figures that talk about our relation, and I will say this because I'm sure the Fuentes thing is going to piss everybody off because I brought him up quite a bit. You don't have to align with somebody on everything in order to soak in information.
Yeah.
I don't align with Destiny and Hassan Piker, but I listen to them. You know, I need to know what they're discussing because they may have some valid points.
Right.
Also, too, I want to know what arguments they're making so I know what to counter with.
Exactly.
You have to see both sides. And there's a benefit to that. You can't get all in your feelings and shit. And like, he says words I don't like, blah, blah, blah. If you don't like it, you don't like it. Listen to it objectively because there's a lot of good information that comes out from these people. And you will never fully align with anybody. There'll always be a topic where you guys may not meet. That's okay. You're free to think the way you want, you know? Mm-hmm. You need to listen to some of the stuff because some of this stuff, man, is so deep. The relationship is so strong. And we're seeing even guys like Tucker Carlson come out. The famous Ted Cruz interview. Did you ever see that where he called him out on the AIPAC and how much money he was receiving from that? I mean, he didn't even know what to. So this stuff is now being exposed, and we're starting to see who is really, kind of controlling certain aspects of our government, and that's not cool, dude. That should be the number one thing that we need to, because that's literally an invasion of your government, pretty much. Like that. There's a leech in your government that's sucking, taking money from taxpayer dollars. And I don't even think it's even money. I think it's like Lockheed coupons, pretty much, to go bomb, to help them bomb other fucking Gaza, pretty much. Yeah. So I don't know. It's wild. People need to look more into that and not just think, oh, my government is saying everything's okay, so everything's okay. I don't care who you support. Double check what they're saying. Because like you said, they're going to manipulate you. There's a reason why. Usually money or a possible position that they're going after.
So as a progressive, it makes me proud that, people are actually starting to put America first, right?
Yeah.
Even the Republican Party.
Yeah.
It's
amazing. Dude, how much has Trump lost of his base? At least 30%?
A lot of his base.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking...
Israel's the biggest one. Israel and Epstein.
Right.
By the way, let me hit on Epstein real quick.
And they go hand in hand.
Yeah, exactly. They do. Literally, Epstein was pretty much a Mossad agent, using fucking blackmail in order to fucking bribe, or not even bribe, pretty much to have control over fucking high figures.
Yes,
either business.
You're exactly right.
Thomas Massey, what did he name off? He named off one senator, I think. He dropped one name and then dropped a bunch of occupations, like a magician, an athlete, a CEO, a car salesman, all these people. And then it's like, I'll have discussions with people on the Epstein list and I get their side. it's going to be difficult to release all information because we don't know exactly who's guilty and is not. If you just showed up to that island, does that necessarily mean that you were committing some sort of these sexual assault allegations? Who knows?
Right.
How did they know? Were these women dolled up? Were they 16-year-old dolled up to look older and that they were there and it was a party and it just happened? Like, where they had, these sexual encounters? Right. Like, or were they, hey, I knew they were a minor and I'm going to do this. You know what I mean? Like, right. We don't know. But this is the job of the FBI and these organizations to try to figure this out and give us as much information that they have true evidence on and present that to the people. And every time that we've tried to get that, they've blocked it. Like, we just seen, what was it? When was the last time? It was just recently, literally, when Charlie Kirk got shot.
Yeah.
That day or that night, they blocked the Epstein release again. And I think Thomas Massey just got his last vote, or is trying to get one more vote. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've seen this. No. To release. He's working with Republicans and Democrats. Yeah. I don't know how many. It's probably a small handful.
Yeah, it's a small handful. Yeah, Democrats too. It's not. And it's what Massey, maybe. Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, yeah.
And I don't know how many other Republicans, but
I think they're one vote shy.
There's about 5 Democrats too.
Yeah. And they're trying to get it released because they have talked to some of the survivors of that. And there are names, there are people. And I get it. We have to have evidence. We can't just name people and then trust, because we've seen that go south before. We've seen where people were put in prison for something they didn't do. These things do happen. We have to be cautious of that. But man, you're telling me you guys went on the fucking, I remember that campaign. Literally, right. Pam Bondi, they're on my desk. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. Everybody
and then
remembers
to completely fucking 180 on that,
exactly.
You got it. You have to release something. It's not that there's nothing there. Right. You have to release something. You need to communicate more. And when you go on TV and you tell the Americans that voted for you that we don't care, we don't need you, this is an Obama hoax, all this bullshit. This isn't 20 years ago. We have access to a lot of information now.
Right.
We see the bullshit now.
The best thing that could happen to our country, is the release of all of those files. Mm-hmm. Why do I say that? The people who are in office right now, and it's a lot of people that are in office right now, would probably be in prison, right? So that'll create a whole new start of American politics, right? Yeah. Because we don't understand. I don't think we could even begin to grasp what happened with the Epstein, right? Mm-hmm. We know that he was a messiah. He was an agent of Israel. Mm-hmm. These are facts, right? We know that.
Well, I don't know. About facts.
Well, not
allegations.
Well, allegations, I guess. Yeah. But we
have a lot of photos and a lot of weird stuff that was like he got a house from Leslie Wexner for free, the most expensive real estate in Manhattan,
right?
And this dude was like a teacher, bro, like in the 70s. Like, how the fuck did he? You know what I mean? Like,
all of a sudden become a billionaire.
Where did he get all this shit from?
So we know that his wife's dad was a messiah, right? Yeah. That's facts.
Messiah, yeah. Well,
he was an agent.
Yeah, he was in a. Well, I didn't know that, but he was in a photo in a fucking airplane with the Mossad fucking intelligence shirt on. I seen a picture of that.
He was, and so part of their strategy to. And the way they took complete control of our government, because that's what they have. They have complete control. Mm-hmm. At this point, like I said earlier, it should be called the Israeli States of America, right? Not the United States of America, because that's how much control they have. And so part of their strategy was, let's get these men, horny old bastards, right? Mm-hmm. Bring them to an island, let them mess around with young girls,
and we'll videotape all of it because everything was being videotaped without their knowledge.
Oh yeah.
And then
who know if they knew they were young? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Maybe they were teeter-tottering on that age where, you know, you have fucking 6 drinks, you're buzzed, you're fucking, some girl walks out, they have her all dolled up to look older, and then boom, they have a camera in your fucking room and they got you. You're fucked.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so you use that against them to do whatever the fuck you want with the American government.
Ugh.
And this is the reason why we give them $7 billion a year for no fucking reason other than they're our ally and we're supposed to give them some money, right? Yeah. This is on top of the money that we're giving them for the wars that we're funding, right?
Yeah, we gave them like 18 billion in 1 year. I think it was last year or year before that.
Insane. It's unbelievable.
They're like, well, it's not that much. It doesn't matter. You don't preach America first then. Shut the fuck up. Because if you're not fucking being truly America first and you're like, well, it's okay if Israel, well, okay, let's give money to Canada and Mexico and fucking Guatemala and Brazil. You know what I mean? Well, actually, we're trying to give fucking 20 billion to Argentina, which is another fucking topic for another day. But yeah, it's just, I don't know, man. It's frustrating, man. The whole Israel shit is just, it's frustrating. And then if you touch it, this is the issue that I see, which is kind of funny because I watched a bunch of Republicans get upset when Democrats would throw racism in your face for every fucking thing that you do. But yet you're throwing anti-Semitism in everybody's face. You're almost literally identical. Okay. Anything you say against Israel, anti-Semitism, right? You can't say that.
Exactly.
You can't say it's like they're literally trying to, like, you can't burn a fucking Israel flag. Like, what the fuck? What
it's against the law in America.
What are we doing here?
So yeah, it's they're trying to deport people who protest, in colleges.
They have.
Oh, yeah. You're right. I think they have.
Yeah, there was a couple people on visas, which I understand what you're saying is that people that have visas don't have the exact same rights as a citizen. But I would say you deported them for a dumbass reason. We can say that. We can't hide behind the fact of, well, they're not entitled to the same rights as. What'd you deport them for? Oh, they were speaking out against a war that was a country was just blowing up a bunch of fucking babies and women and fucking men. Oh, that's why. So hold on. We can't say that's the stupidest shit I've ever heard in my life. Like, what are you talking about? Because then when does it stop?
Yeah.
Is it citizens next? Because I know they've been looking at that shit. It's like, okay, so we're just going to have fucking government overreach here.
You can criticize America, but you can't criticize Israel.
Please, yes. Isn't that the craziest thing, Leo?
It's absolutely fucking unbelievable.
You can fucking hang a piñata with fucking Donald Trump on it, or a piñata with Obama, or whatever the fuck they've done. It's like, but if you fucking say anything about Israel, you better be careful. You're
fucked.
Yeah. The ADL might come after you.
Yeah. So, and I'll get into the next topic here with immigration here. So, they started, and I talked about the labor shortage, and I talked about how immigration started, but, they started with saying, we're going to deport criminals. And I think everyone agrees.
Right.
Let's get the fuck rid of criminals. Right. Yeah. But then they said, we're going to fucking deport anyone with any type of fucking record. It doesn't matter, right? We're going to just say, if you have a fucking traffic ticket, get the fuck out.
Yeah,
right?
So you're saying the difference between violent criminals and actual, like, jaywalking or some shit.
Right,
yeah,
right. You have kids, you have family, rip them from their fucking kids and toss them in a fucking car and get them the fuck out of here. Mm-hmm. Throw them into a fucking, a facility where they're being deprived of food. There's no fucking showers and alligator, whatever, because there's no sewer system that could run through there. It's not even possible, right? Mm-hmm. And who gives a fuck? Throw them in there and throw away the keys or ship them to El Salvador just because they have tattoos like they did with Abrego. Talking about that he was a gang member just because he had tattoos, only to bring him back because it turned out that he wasn't a gang member, right? Mm-hmm. And so we all agree with those things, right? We all agree that criminals was fine, right? And then they started going after people with the CVP1 app, right? So they said, okay, so if you came in through the Biden administration through that app, we don't give a fuck. You're now illegal. And you got to get the fuck out of
What's
country.
What's the CVP? What is that?
So that was an app that the Biden administration created for people to apply for asylum, right? So we were having trouble with labor shortages to the point where not just America, a lot of other countries, right? They were offering housing. They were offering. This is why you see these videos of people giving away homes in Italy, right? Because it benefits those countries for you to go there and start families. It grows the economy, and it's great for their country.
Shit, there's states in America that offer that. Like certain states that maybe have low population, they're trying to increase. They'll give you like $30,000 and free land or something to build a house on. You know,
So it benefits the government because you're
more
got
taxes,
another taxpayer. You're bringing you're filling those empty jobs,
which I don't think is right. Go on record on that.
So they started deporting those people, and they're saying, as a matter of fact, use that same app to deport yourself, right? These are people that we were already had given permission to come in and even though we kept them illegal. So the Biden administration they brought them over, but they kept them illegal, meaning because it benefited the corporations that also fund the Democratic Party, right? So those corporations, CEOs are like, we want labor, but we want cheap labor. So keep them illegal. We pay them whatever the fuck we want, because if we pay them whatever the fuck we want, we pay Americans whatever the fuck we want, right? And so that's what happened. And so
it's a big disruption to the working community. In construction, I see it a lot. It's like, people will act as if like, because this whole mindset of like nobody's illegal. I understand where you're coming from more of a empathetic side. I get that. I see what you're trying to say, but that doesn't work because, like you said, companies are going to take advantage of that. So if you just allow people to come over and never give them a pathway to status, they're going to abuse the labor on that. They're going to go, well, you're illegal. You can't go anywhere else. So I'm only going to pay you $15 an hour. And then that sets a fucking a scale to where now a bunch of companies are like, oh, I'm seeing all these painting companies. They're paying their workers only $14 an hour. I'm not going to hire an American for $28. You're out of your mind. I'm just going to go find one of these guys. And then it just completely disrupts. And then you have a labor shortage. And you're like, where are all these workers at? Nobody wants to get paid $14 an hour, dude. Yeah. They're able to do that because, like you said, they're able to live amongst 5 other people in one house,
Exactly.
But you're being fucked up because and you won't give them citizenship because as soon as they get it, they're going to demand more money. So it's just an ugly thing that they're abusing.
And that's what I disagree with the Democratic Party, right? And both parties do this. Keep them illegal. Even if it's 20 years, keep them illegal.
Republicans just stay silent. And I'm not generalizing here, but the Republican owners of companies, not all of them, but there are ones that'll stay silent. They'll vote Republican, but they've got fucking 5 illegal immigrants working there. It's like, well, what do you... Hold on, you're contradicting. Yeah, what are you talking about? You're voting for a party that doesn't want that, but still you're using. I don't know.
But
that makes sense.
We have to understand that we invited these people into the country to apply for asylum, right? And now they're standing outside of immigration hearings, and even though the judge is saying, "Okay, I'm giving you permission to stay at least to your next hearing,"
how many people was it? Do you know on that particular?
I don't know, but
and then again, who invited them? Because I didn't vote for that.
You
know what I mean?
Yeah, they're outside the immigration hearing with their kids, and they're getting ripped away from their kids, and just there's several videos out there.
No, I get that.
Yeah.
Okay, and to discuss that, because people have issue with my mindset or my look on immigration. I don't believe in just allowing anybody over the borders. This is me. I believe in you have to have secure borders. We've seen the 10 to 20 million people that came over in a mass influx. Was not good. You know what I mean? It was very, like you said, poor conditions. People aren't being able to give opportunities to be able to go the route, the path, the way to citizenship. People are taking advantage of these people. People are losing jobs due to these people taking their jobs. So you have to have a good system in place. And what we really need to do is, one, you can be against immigration, like in that type of, not immigration in itself, but what we've seen over the last 5 years.
Right.
You can be against it, but you can also have compassion, okay? You can also not be like, oh, well, fuck them, I don't care, fucking take them, blah, blah, blah. You don't have to be like that. You can still see how sad it is and how horrible it is, that they're just being, you came over, you had a family, unfortunately, you didn't do it through the legal routes, and, not saying the asylum seekers, but just people who came over across the border. Unfortunately, you got to go back. You can still have sympathy for them on that.
Right.
But then you can also be objective on it and go, well, I mean, you can't just cherry pick on who stays and who goes and blah, blah, blah. But there needs to be, what needs to really be looked at, and I talked about this on Ozone Media, the Ozone Layer Media podcast. You have to look at this. I think looking back at the process of bringing people over needs to be revisited. I think the last time what I was told it was anything was done on this process was like in the 70s. Might be wrong on that. But it looks like maybe we need to re-look at how that process works. Why is it taking so long? Is there a reason it takes so long? Why are people skirting around the line and just taking the more dangerous path of trying to cross the border? Let's look at those things. Okay. Let's see if maybe if we can speed it up, if we can make some changes in order to make it easier for people, maybe not as costly. Also, too, we need to look at the American side. We need to see, hey, is every American taken care of before we just start allowing people to come over first? Or is everyone good? I mean, is our nation doing okay? And then also, too, it's like if we're going, unfortunately, that administration allowed so many people to come over at one time. We've seen all the trains and all the people running across and these guys on horses trying to get them and all this shit. That wasn't right. So now that we have to go and fix that, is there a way we can do it better than this whole running around town like we're in the Wild West and trying to catch Pokemon and shit like they like to play around and say? Is there a tiered system that we could do? Is there a way we can give people time in order for them to, when we do get to that tier, they have enough money saved up and they can go back and they can try to come back the legal way? Or, maybe you can, unfortunately. Can we start with the violent offenders first and work our way down and then go to people that, hey, let's start going through the asylum seekers. Let's see who we can keep, who we can't. Let's get a team of economists together. Let's see if we can, how much can we handle? How much of a negative impact is it going to be? Let's present this information to the American people and let's let them decide. You know what I mean? Instead of always thinking that they have their best, we have the best intentions. We know what you guys need. Unfortunately, you live with 350 other million citizens. You need to bring this up to a vote. You need to let the American people decide as a majority, because if you don't, then you're going to have this continued division and this divide. And that's what we're seeing right now.
The way you solve immigration is that you end corruption in our government. You take away the money, the incentive for politicians to accept money from these corporations who want the illegal immigrants in the first place.
Or how about this, Leo? Why don't they hold the CEOs accountable? How about those like
the
Hyundai factory?
Yep.
Why weren't they taking out the owner of the Hyundai factory there into fucking jail as well? Because that's one thing I've fucking been preaching, dude, and it pisses me off. And a lot of conservatives do agree that I've talked to about this, but it's like, okay, you guys want deportations, but yet the most easiest way to probably do this and the most safest way without a dude who's brown, who's a citizen, and you just pick him up because you think he's fucking illegal. You know what I mean? This could stop that from happening, for overstepping on somebody's rights as an American citizen and assuming they are what they're not. We could stop that and just go, hey, all you employers out there, if you continue to hire illegal workers, we're not going to make you pay a fine. We're not going to not do shit. We're going to make you serve jail time. Yeah. Okay. And in that, people would self-deport, because they have no means to work. So they're like, well, fuck, I can't work here. I got to go back. That would be a way that has less of the mess that we're kind of seeing now. And I'm not going to say, it's hard to tell is it as big of a mess as we think? Is media making it a bigger mess? Because like the alligator Alcatraz, that seems like a shit show down there from all the stuff I'm reading, but there's thousands of detention centers all over America. Are they all like that? Is it just that one? Like, we don't really know.
Unfortunately, for the most part, from the reports that are coming out there, a lot of them are like that. But to your point,
where are the reports coming from? You know what I mean?
To your point, you're very much on point there. They'll never go after these CEOs, right?
What do you think they should do?
If they really wanted to end immigration, they can end it tomorrow by simply going after the CEOs and saying, if you hire illegal immigrants, you're no longer going to have a company. But that's how much power these business owners have. And and a lot of people make the mistake in thinking that these are American companies, right? Just because they were built in America. But
Hyundai's not.
These companies are no longer American companies. Let me explain. And I could say the same thing about all these fucking companies, Microsoft, Apple, whatever the fucking company is. It doesn't fucking matter. This is why I say they're not American companies. First and foremost, they don't pay taxes into our system that help our people, right? Second of all, they have headquarters in Ireland, and they'll have their money in Switzerland to hide it, or the Bahamas, whatever the case. Right. So they have these different loopholes that they get away with paying shit, right?
Or you find out the real owners from Saudi Arabia or some shit. Yeah.
Exactly, or a lot of the majority of shareholders are from other countries. So these aren't American companies that we're protecting. So fuck these CEOs. And if they want to leave America, let them leave America, because that's one of the scare tactics that people say, well, if we don't incentivize them, to your point, they'll leave America. Well, good. Leave fucking America. You're not paying shit into our tax system. You're not helping our people. You're not putting America first. You're hiring people purposely to pay them less so that you don't have to pay Americans and you don't have to pay a livable wage. And meanwhile, the American people are suffering, right? And so that's the reality of the situation.
Hey, and I'm to the point to where, like, okay, you don't want to make CEOs and the elite pay taxes, and you let them write off, because they're able to afford, entire fucking tax departments to do all their stuff to find every loophole and cranny to be able to skirt around this shit. Then, hey, do it for us too. Yeah. Keep the board even then, if you're not going to fucking take it away from them because, well, they're giving jobs and okay, well, then cut us a break. Hey, when is the American people going to get a break?
Exactly.
Okay. Because last I checked, I think almost 40% of our fucking income's going towards taxes. That's what you get taxed on your check, what you get taxed when you buy shit, like all this stuff.
I would argue that it's more.
It's probably more.
When you take into account what we buy at stores.
You work 3 months out of the year probably for free. Crazy. And Leo, and that wraps back to what I was saying. And I'm not a person that thinks that we should have no government. I just see how big it is and how much they take, and it's not fair. So why do we continue to think it's going to change? Who else is good? You got a good head on your shoulders. You seem like you're reasonable on a lot of topics.
Right.
You don't even want to be in that shit. All the good people don't want to be in there and fucking try to change it because they know it's a system that either changes you or it roots you out.
Yeah, you're exactly right. So a lot of people go into government with good ideas, right? They get in office and they get corrupted one way or another because they see there's no real hope in trying to make changes. So they're like, fuck it, I'm going to take mine too and get the fuck out. And that's exactly what happens. There's few people that can't be corrupted, right? I believe if I've ever got into office, I couldn't be corrupted. I don't give a fuck about the money.
Yeah.
I don't.
You say that till they give you that $5 million check.
I know. I really don't.
We all want to think that we'd stick to our principles and our morals for sure. But man, dude, I mean, how the fuck are they're doing it? Well, if they're not going to bribe you with money, they're going to fucking make sure they duct tape you and do some crazy shit and take photos of it, and then they got you for fucking blackmail.
Or kill you. That's the real.
You died suicide. And somehow you shot yourself twice.
Exactly.
Doesn't make any sense.
And so that's where I draw the line when I start getting messages about we're going to kill you, we're going to kill your family, we're going to come after you. That's where I draw the line, right? Because it's not worth my life or my family's life. Right?
I wonder how many of those are bots. You ever seen those bot farms?
Yeah.
We were talking about it on the last podcast.
I hope they're bots because,
dude, no,
they fucked if I'm not.
No, there's probably some real ones in there too. There's some fucking sick people out there. But like, dude, they have like whole rooms, bro, with just fucking phones. All these phones.
Oh wow, I never seen that.
Yeah. I shared one on my story. I don't know if it's still on there, but it's like literally just rooms of phones, and they're all plugged into these servers, and it's all being done. And when you're arguing with a bot, they usually have like some fucking weird ass profile picture of a fucking robot or some shit or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
It's not a real person, you know? And you can kind of tell by text. They're just stirring
And you
shit
can tell
up.
by the followers.
Yeah, and they're stirring it up. That's why when I look through the comments a lot, I read this stuff.
Yeah.
But I can tell when I'm not going to waste my time. I see it. It's like, that's a fucking bot. They're just going to they're throwing some fucking bullshit out there to create an argument, to get me riled up or to get others riled up and to push you more into a side that's still not going to fucking fix anything for you. You know, it's engineered. You know, it's created on purpose, and everyone wants to think it's foreign. Yeah. I'm sure a lot of it's foreign, but I can guarantee you a lot of it's domestic too.
Yeah, and we saw that with the presidential run with Hillary and Trump. There was a lot of bots that were proven to be bots.
How long ago was that?
Spread a bunch of propaganda.
What was that in 2016?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, so 10 years later, it's worse.
It's worse now. Yeah. And so that's a big issue. But but yeah, it's unfortunate, all the propaganda and all the stuff. But to stick with immigration, I mean, they started going after green card holders, people that have been here 20 years. They have established families, right? They're going to these people's homes. They're fucking busting their windows when they get up to go to work and dragging them out of their fucking cars in front of their kids and saying, "Get the fuck out!" Right? We're gonna fucking deport you. We don't give a fuck that you're going to work. They're going to job sites, right? It was supposed to be about criminals, but it's not about criminals. It's about deporting anyone who looks brown. They even started deporting people with papers, activists, people who will speak up against what's happening, right? I've seen that in California with a guy they call El Jaguar or something like that. I forget exactly what they call him, but they'll put up some bullshit charges and arrest you and say, fuck you pretty much, and throw away the key, right? And so it's fucked up because even U.S. citizens are dealing with this shit. The Supreme Court just passed. The Supreme Court just passed so that you can discriminate against anyone who looks brown and pull them over and ask them for papers. And we saw that during the Bush administration 20, 30 years ago, whatever it was. They were pulling people over left and right. But now it's legal. They can legally pull you over for simply looking brown. And so these are huge problems. This isn't going after criminals. This is going and separating families and basically telling brown people, get the fuck out, right? When you have military in Portland and Chicago, these are dangerous times for a lot of people. And I don't know where our country's going with this, but I don't think anyone signed up for this. And I don't know where this is going to end,
But there's a way like we discussed, there's a way to do it without going to that extreme. Because whether or not if it's happening or not, is everybody in ICE, is everybody in HSI or any of these other programs, are they all trying to arrest people because they're brown? No. But is there people that probably do? Yeah. You know what I mean? These are large organizations. These are human beings, just normal human beings.
Right.
They're no different than you and I, other than they have a specific job that they've trained for. There's going to be mistakes made. There's going to be fucked up individuals that work for those organizations that are going to do stuff that's not right, that is fucked up. To not allow that to happen, there's a better way of doing this. Like we discussed with holding people accountable that are hiring these people. This wouldn't happen then. You wouldn't have to have these stop and search laws to where, like you said, if you see someone who is of this ethnicity, stop them because we need to check their papers. We can't do that. That's gonna start a huge fucking issue. I understand the thought process behind it. It's like, well, how do we do it? Well, one, immigrants aren't all brown. There's gonna be fucking white immigrants. There's gonna be tan, black, brown. There's gonna be all sorts of different colors of immigrants. But we can't just do that because you're gonna fuck up. You're gonna pull over a citizen for no reason, and they shouldn't have to deal with the burden of something that you can't figure out how to deal with without interrupting and overstepping on people's rights, on a citizen's rights. So we need to be careful of that and just find a different way of doing this, man. This isn't going to end well. Like you said, it's going to be continued overreach. And when it comes to the military being in these different states, it's like, yeah, man, like, do you want that trend to continue? Do you want the federal government to continue to possibly, I see what they're trying to do. They're trying to bring some sort of order in some of these cities that are fucking, Chicago, let's not act like Chicago isn't, fucking 800 homicides a year, you know what I mean? Compared to our, 100 and something. Yeah, I could understand your justification of wanting to help police more, but instead of over policing, which, I'm not on the boat with the Democrats of like, we don't need any police at all. Not saying all Democrats believe that, but I think it's, again, another Band-Aid. It's like, I get it. Police presence could stop crime, but let's get to the real issue too. What's causing
I
a
don't
lot
understand
of the crime,
why Democrats were saying defund police. That's not something that's
if anything, I'd want them trained better and funded better so they do a better job.
Exactly.
I don't want them to be, I do have an issue with, police departments overstepping their boundaries as well and having their overreach as well. This happens to all organizations that get big, they just tend to do corrupt
most
shit.
Cops,
but most cops are good.
Most cops are great.
Yeah.
And so you don't ever want to really defund the police.
Yeah.
That's not.
And a lot of times it's not even the cops; it's the fucking higher ups,
but
man.
That's part of the media and what I talk about. Divide and conquer, right? So you spread this propaganda, divide the police because Democrats hate police, and of course, you get the Republicans wild up, and so that spreads people. So that's by design, right? So, and I'll bring an example of how media works. So, for example, when Catholic Charities a couple months ago, they built a building for affordable housing. And all the politicians came out for that photo op, right? Because why not? This is great propaganda. We're doing something. Yeah,
the construction heads.
Right. We're doing something about homelessness, about affordable housing, and it wasn't even government. It was a charity who built that, right? And so
it was a private charity.
Catholic Charities, right? Catholic
That's what I'm telling you, Leo. Look, see, we can do it, man. We don't need the government. We got private charities.
Here's the thing,
they don't even have to be a religious charity. Dude, I would totally donate to fucking a lot of different causes. I still do, even though I get taxed heavily. I would just rather the government give me my taxes back and let me donate to the causes that I believe in instead of distributing all our money to everything that maybe I don't believe in or others don't believe in,
Some of the richest people in the country own charities. And the reason is because most of the money to charity doesn't actually go towards
that's
the
a problem.
cause.
Yeah. But we could say the same about government. You know what I mean?
And so, I guess so.
At least you can stop giving your money to that charity. You can't stop giving it to government because if you do, they're going to fucking serve you a warrant. And then if you resist that, they're going to try to arrest you. And then if you resist that, they could possibly kill you. So, these are issues, man.
Yeah. Well, it's a great conversation, man. We've been at it for a while.
No. Yeah, I'm sorry, man. I don't know
you're
anymore.
good.
But let's wrap it up then.
Yeah.
Let's wrap it up. So on the immigration thing, man, just to wrap that section up, they just, there's got to be a better way to go about this, man. You know what I mean? Me and you may have differences on how we go about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think there's definitely a way better way. And this isn't to bash these organizations that think, that the way they're doing it is right or because I don't like this is what I see a lot of. I just see a lot of fighting and dismissing of people. Like, if you don't align with me on this, then fuck you. That's not going to work because then we're going to push each other into these teams and then we're never going to have any solutions come out of them. Look at me and you. Me and you differ on some topics, but yet I'm still able to sit down and talk with you and be able to hear you out. I understand it's a little different once policies start getting put in place and getting passed that could affect other people. I totally get that. Abortion being one of them. That's a hot topic. I understand those things, but then we need to start looking at as American citizens and being outspoken. Fuck the team stuff now. I think we can all see the teams don't fucking matter anymore. I understand the whole political game and you got to be a part of this because, that's the only way to get to these places and to be able to enact some sort of small change that's going to benefit you or whatever it may be. But I have a feeling, though, and maybe this is just me not being realistic, is that I think power it lies more in the people. We have to start educating ourselves more the best you can. Get out of the football, get out of the reality TV, get out of all the fucking nonsense, especially young people, because this is going to affect you the most. You got to start finding some sort of center ground on information that's giving you actual good journalism. It's hard to find, I know. But if what I usually do is just take a bunch of different places, whether it be left, right, centered, and try to come up with a good understanding of from myself on these topics of what I'm being given. But we need to do these things. We need to come together more as whole, as a people, as a nation, rather than these political parties. And we need to hold them accountable. We need to do something, man, because I don't see an end in sight to where this ends up being good.
And it starts with a conversation like this, right? And so,
but we can't have these conversations on a mass scale because we have gatekeepers in media.
Yes.
Do you think I can go on Fox News and talk about this shit? Do you think I can go on Pete Mundo's show and talk about this?
Exactly.
Or any other Kansas City Star? They're not going to allow me to talk like this. They're going to take bits and pieces and they're going to swirl it the way they want to swirl it, because ultimately it comes down to money, and they got to get views, they got to get clicks, and that's the good thing about this is that maybe I'm only getting 100 people watching,
right?
But man, 100 people is better than 0, and also I can't be swayed because I ain't making any money off this shit, and I'm just fucking working like a normal human being like everybody else. And if I have to do that the rest of my life in order to keep this show true, then that's what I want to do. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's the right way, the moral way, the best outcome, because I'd rather live the rest of my life being a free man and and standing on my 2 feet in dignity, than end up selling out and then living a miserable life and on my deathbed going, I fucked a lot of people over. Like, that's got to be a horrible feeling, man.
I don't think
in the moment they don't care because they're distracted. They got all this money. I don't care. I'll buy shit and fucking materials, But then when you can't leave without that and you're gonna die, you don't think that crosses their mind?
Oh yeah,
it has to, man.
I don't think you realize how much I appreciate giving me a platform. Progressives aren't typically given that platform, right? I mean, our talking points are against both political parties, and I'm
in the same boat with you.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's definitely appreciated.
I get flack from both sides, man. So I feel you, but you're always welcome to come on whenever you want, man.
Oh yeah, brother.
We'll have these discussions. You always know to feel free to come back. Challenge me. This is the only way we're going to grow. We have to challenge one another, and ultimately I think at the end, all of us see the true problem. And do I wish that government could be changed? Yes, I do. You wish that, I wish that. But at some point in the end, if we need to come to a realization, if it's not, we need to figure out something else, because I don't know what else we can. I don't like the continued. I see it in families, the division. I see it in friends. Mm-hmm. I see it at the workplace. This is getting insane, man. It's consuming our lives, and we're paying the price, So I think this needs to happen more. Also, to anybody who's watching still 2 hours later, if you want to come on, you want to talk, I've said this many times. I've had Republicans, I've had progressives, I've had libertarians, I've had Democrats, I've had all sorts of different views on this show.
Right.
Okay. This isn't to come on to debate and try to win and do all this shit. This is a place for conversation.
Yep.
It's a place to be able to discuss these ideas, discuss these policies, especially locally. That's why I love having you on, because you know a lot of things that are happening locally, which I believe needs to be the main focus for a lot of people. If we focus small instead of always federally and nationwide, we could make more change.
Yes,
you know,
yes.
we can
have said that better. Yeah.
Yeah. We can have these discussions. We can start. It's almost like you walk outside your house, you see a piece of trash in your yard, pick that up.
Yep.
You're walking around your neighborhood, pick it up. A neighbor needs a helping hand, which, hey, I'm just as guilty. I need to be better at being a better neighbor. Help them out. If we start this trend, and even if it's not everybody, don't worry about everyone. Focus on yourself. If you can do that and you can start implementing that, this could be a better world.
One of my quotes that I like to say is that you can't change the world if you can't change your household, your neighborhood, your city, and so on.
And you can't change that
Yeah.
if you don't change yourself. You know,
Exactly.
start with yourself first. Be a little selfish. You know, invest in yourself, and if you can change yourself, you can help change others. You got to be the example.
Yeah.
You know, so
great conversation.
yeah.
Great show. I no
Yeah.
longer do videos for people that follow
What
my
happened?
old channels. Well, the DMs were a little bit too much for me.
Yeah,
And
I
so,
feel
but
you.
hey, if you want me to do more videos, DM me and stuff like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I get people that tell me that they followed and they were fans and shit like that. So it was real surprising to me, right?
No,
Because
that's cool.
I didn't do it for the views or anything like that. I did it to get on the main show and possibly run for public office one day. But
You can still do work here though by just
Yeah.
spreading the message. You know what I mean? I know that
Yeah.
sucks with the whole don't fucking DM me. All right. Don't do that shit. All right. And if you are gonna try to kill me, just come after me. Don't come after my family and shit. Just come after me.
I could see myself doing more podcasts.
Yeah, we could have a
whether
gun
it's
battle
here
if you'd
or-
like. But
Yeah.
but yeah, no, that's nasty, man. People who go after people because of what they're saying, that's what was the whole funny thing too. When Pam Bondi was talking about free speech, it was funny to hear Republicans going against free speech. It was fucking weird. They need to get Pam Bondi out there. She's really fucking it up for them. But we got to be able to have free speech. We got to be able to say things that people don't like. This is what creates good discussion. This is what can create better ideas, better ways of going about things. Get out of your feelings. Let's talk about things. Both sides.
Very well
can't.
said. Yeah.
Yeah, we can't keep doing this. So. I appreciate it, Leo. You're welcome back anytime. And I'll see you
I
again.
appreciate it, brother.